Hello, innovators. I am Dustin Miller, PolyInnovator. Today we're talking with Mark J. Draper, the owner of Reviewify, a Techtuber, and even a licensed electricity supplier. Thank you for joining me on the Polymath Polycast, a show about becoming a PolyInnovator. Please say hello to the innovators in the audience.
Hello, innovators. Can I just clarify? I'm not an electricity supplier owner. I've set up an electricity supply company, which we can talk about.
I meant the owner of Reviewify, so
Yes.
I rearranged some words there. But
no problem.
thank you for being here. We are here to talk about technology reviews, entrepreneurship, automation, and overall being a gamer and a techie. Hello and welcome to the Polymath Polycast. Share something about yourself that no one knows about you.
No one knows about me. Well, I can. It's not a well-known fact, and it's not very good for podcasts. But can you rotate your hands in opposing directions? Because that's something I can do. So, no, you're doing the same way. Almost.
I can do it in the arms where one's going down. I can't do it with hands.
Yeah,
that's cool. I actually I teach water aerobics classes and like fitness classes, and one of the things I make them do is movements like that to really test the brain and make their more connections pronounced. So diving right in, let's start off by asking, what is it like to be a Techtuber?
Okay, so it's interesting. It's something that is a bit of hard work. You've got to contact companies to try and persuade them to either lend or give you products to review, or you have to bat away a lot of offers for things that you just don't want to review, or that aren't appropriate for review, or it's just a bit of a scam thing. You know, you can smell it straight away. It's a lot of hard work because unlike some YouTubers, you don't just make a video, you've actually got to put the work into testing the product. So you receive the product, you've actually got to use it and quickly form an opinion, what's good, what's bad, and then you've got to go ahead and do all the filming, which can be quite time intensive because you want to try and get shots of it in use, B-roll of it, then you might do some camera pieces or voiceovers. So it's a lot of work, but I really enjoy the aspect of helping people make decisions. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of those people that people come to and say, oh, what would you recommend for, and back in the day before iPhones, it used to be, what would you recommend for mobile phones? You know, when there was actually choice between other than Samsung and Apple. Yeah. And so that's kind of where it all started. And now I've just kind of expanded that to just making a channel about reviewing products.
Well, that's nice. And it's interesting, like you're saying, that there's a lot more moving parts to like a tech review than there would be like a video I make. I may have 3 or 4 clips and I would have to chop it up a little bit, maybe cut out some ums and uhs. But for the most part, even on these podcasts, like ums and uhs and pauses, that's usually what I have to cut out. Maybe some section that I went on a tangent for or something like that, but never have to do any B-roll really, never have to do anything really special. Whereas for you have all these different moving parts you have to account for.
Yeah, and depending on the product, that can be quite intense. You know, some products that are single use, it's quite easy. But then if you get something like a mobile phone, well, a mobile phone is a little supercomputer in your pocket. So you're looking at things like gaming, the camera, can the camera take good night photos, day photos, video? And so you've got to test all that, and you've got to somehow condense that down into, well, I try and do a nice, clear, concise review, and just get across all the main points that people want to know about. So obviously the more complicated or the more functions it has, the longer it can take.
And like, what about if you're trying to record the actual screen of the phone on the device, so that way people can see what it's like on the phone too, on top of that?
Yeah, so that can be tricky depending on how reflective the screen is if I'm recording it on camera. Fortunately, a lot of phones these days come with a built-in screen recorder, so that makes it much easier sometimes to record what's on the menu, or if I'm playing games, or if I want to record something specifically that I can't capture on my camera itself, I can do a screen record.
I remember back in the day with some screens too, just reflections and overall interlace would just be so horrible. You could never record anything with an external camera.
Yeah, you have to be careful of that. If you start getting that rolling, flickering effect, it's just not a nice video to watch. So I'm quite glad they've all got high refresh rates now, and generally are much easier to record than back in the day.
And we're not using CRTs anymore.
No, that's true. That is true.
So you got your YouTube channel, Reviewify, and you help others with their channels. What got you started before all that? What was your mindset?
So as I say, I quite like helping people, and I have built up over the years a lot of knowledge about a lot of things generally, but certainly YouTube as a bit of a side hobby. It's taken me a long time to get where I am, and I've learned how you can better structure your channel so that you set off on the right path much sooner. Mm-hmm. And I have various people I know who, so for example, before Christmas, there's a lady I know who's a Pilates instructor, and I said, you'd be great on YouTube. Have you ever thought about starting a channel? And she was a bit unsure, and so I've been helping her. And that timing of that has been brilliant because her business has been hit by the pandemic. And so, of course, she's had to shut down classes and one-to-ones. And she said to me, not in person, obviously, said to me, I'm really pleased that we started the YouTube channel because I'm fine now doing Zoom classes. You know, she's just taken to it straight away because she's used to presenting to a camera. So that's been really beneficial. And, you know, it's one of those things where I've just helped another lady start her channel about MS. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know anything about YouTube. So walking her through it, and she's absolutely loving the platform. She thought it was a bit like another Instagram or Twitter or something like that. And she didn't realize the depth to YouTube. And so she's really thrown herself into it. So it's being able to help people with something that I find quite easy to do. I can edit videos as you can edit videos, but if you sit someone down who's never edited a video before, it's like mission control. It's very difficult. So that's where I come in to play and try and help people out with all those basics and getting them really comfortable with the software and YouTube as a platform. Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's interesting too, because as you know, YouTube, for the people who don't know in the audience, that YouTube is a search engine, the second largest one, largest one in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it has something like 20 billion users. Yeah, it's absolutely huge. And of course, the first biggest search engine is Google, who happen to own YouTube. So they effectively own all search. And the great thing about YouTube over other platforms is the content's evergreen. If I upload something to Instagram, yeah, okay, it might sort of hang around for a bit, but pretty much it's an instant hit. Mm-hmm. I've got videos on YouTube going back years that are still getting comments and views and likes, and people going, oh, thanks for doing this, you know, a help guide or whatever. And so the stuff that you put on there, if it's addressing a need now, that's still going to be there in the future. So it's evergreen content that can really help you out in the long run.
Even with like tech reviews, there might be a product that died out. Obviously, like phones get replaced so often, but some people might want that phone review. They might have it down the line. They're like, oh, what can this phone do again? I want to bring it out for nostalgia's sake, or I want to bring it out for my kid or whatever. And they might go back to your own review for it.
And actually, there's a lot of products that have a very long shelf life. I guess mobiles are the things that people think about. And yes, they have a short shelf life of only maybe a couple of years, 5 years if you're looking at secondhand market as well. But there's a lot of products, there's speakers, there's cameras that are out for years and years and years, lenses for cameras. One of the biggest hits on my channel was planetariums. And that I was speaking to the manufacturer recently saying, look, people love your product. Are you going to be making a new one? They went, no, because we got it right. So that's going to be the product indefinitely now for years to come. So, not all tech is kind of there and gone. Quite a lot of it hangs around for quite a few years now.
Kind of going on a small tangent, I was actually wanting to tell you, one of my first YouTube videos I ever made was when I was a teenager, actually. So well before I ever made PolyInnovator. And I was really into immersive gaming. So I wanted to get a motion controller. And this was well before any like VR headsets had any controllers with them too. So back in 2011, 2012. And there was only a handful out there that could actually work with PC. And so there was a couple that I bought. There was this Wiimote that was basically for the PlayStation 3. And then there was also these nunchucks that I have that basically are like a Wii nunchuck, but motion controller for a PC. And I did a review off that PlayStation 3 one. And I for some reason it's not on there anymore. I guess it just disappeared or got removed, or maybe I removed it in a fit one day or something like that. But it was interesting how there was no other reviews of it. And so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, this is going to last a while. People are going to, if anyone ever buys this controller, the one person in 10 years from now that buys it, they're going to want to see a review of it.
Yeah, and it's there. It's searchable, much like what they've done for websites. Google have done it for video. So it's a great platform to establish yourself on, whether it's you as a person or you as a brand or your company or whatever it is you're doing. If you've got something to say and offer people, YouTube for me is the platform to go on. It's the biggest, I say it's the second biggest search engine, probably the biggest for video. It ties in very closely to the Google search engine anyway. So your video gets pulled up on both Google and YouTube. So you can get a lot of traffic for free.
Yeah, definitely. And this kind of leads into what is like the YouTube blueprint and channel launch coach in your role?
Yeah, so this is something because I've been helping other people, this is something I've been working on for a while. And there's a lot of help out there for people who are on YouTube. So, you go on YouTube and it's how to get, from 0 to 1,000 subscribers and how to do this and how to do that. But what I found was people that don't know YouTube or don't use YouTube don't actually look at YouTube for help. And they don't really know where to begin. So how do they even create an account? Now, YouTube has a very low barrier to entry. It's free to sign up for an account. It only takes a few minutes. And you can film using, these days, mobiles have such amazing cameras. That's really all you need. You just need a mobile, something to edit video, like you were saying earlier, take out the ums and ahs and do some cuts, what have you. You can do that on a mobile these days. And then you can upload it. And anyone can do that, but there's a right way and a slightly wrong way of doing it. So what I'm trying to create at the moment is just an online course. So, that's all the rage these days, online courses. And it'll be a bit of a blueprint to help you go through the steps required to set up a channel and really make sure that you've got a really solid foundation for that channel. And what I'm looking to offer is the course. You can just buy the course, DIY, off you go. But I'm also offering coaching service on top of that, where we get on a call, a bit like this, like a Zoom call, one-to-one, and I can help coach you through various elements of it. So, for example, if you're really unsure about how to edit your first video, we can spend an hour with me helping you edit the video, looking at the software you're using, because most video editors, okay, they're laid out a bit differently, but they pretty much all have the same layout. So I don't know how many you've used, but they have a little media library, they have the editing track library, and they have the preview window. And from there, we go through and how you should upload it, what you should set, all that kind of stuff. But it actually all starts, as the great Linkin Park once sang, it starts with one. And that's really your one idea and your one viewer. And you keep that one viewer and that one niche in mind, and you build on that for your channel. And that's how you can have a successful channel. There's a great channel I discovered the other day, actually, which really demonstrate this. I don't know if you've seen the guy who's eating paper versions of Nicolas Cage every day until Nicolas Cage comes to watch National Treasure at his school. Yeah, that's his thing. That's all he does. Every day he uploads a video, takes Nicolas Cage's head and eats it. And that's it. He's got something like 35,000 subscribers. So it just shows you he's stuck to that one thing, and he's run with it, and people subscribe to it. It doesn't matter how crazy your idea is, and it doesn't have to be that crazy. You can be a very sensible person, but it just shows you they've got the reach now to reach anybody. And if you think this will help somebody, and if you do it correctly, that somebody will find you. They'll watch the video, because that's what Google and YouTube are very good at, is delivering answers. And hopefully they'll subscribe and, watch more of your videos. Yeah.
Well, and speaking of views, like getting that one person to view every time you make a video or something like that I don't want to say super fan, but just like a super subscriber in a way, is one way to really start racking up those views. You recently hit 10 million views. How does that feel?
It's a funny one, because 10 million is one of those numbers. When you get to that level, it's hard for me to comprehend what that number is. Like when I got my first subscriber, or my first 10 or 100, you can mentally picture 1, 10, 100 people. When it gets to 10 million views, it's just such a huge number. And when I consider that I just make videos at home, I'm not in a big studio, I don't have a dedicated space, I'm just doing them at home, and I've racked up 10 million views. I've just passed 9,000 subscribers as well, which I'm really pleased with. And it's one of those things that I just have to pinch myself. It gives you a little boost, because when you're a creator, quite often you just do it at home on your own in isolation, or you and a friend or whatever. And to get that achievement, you're like, yes, do you know what? I'm sure when you see your viewing figures, you think, well, is anyone listening to this? And then you get, your first listener, and then you get your 10th and your 100th and your 1000th. And you're like, people are loving this. Let's make more. So yeah, it helps
motivation.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
It's interesting that you're talking about how the big numbers really affect you. I was actually watching Madison Beer's new music video, not new, it came out this year, for her Selfish. And it was just one of those really cool songs that came out, pretty popular. And I get so fixated on the subscriber count. She has like 1.62 million subscribers. And it's just crazy how when you get to that point, I wonder how your brain just shifts.
Yeah.
Because it's like you can't picture it so much, and you start, instead of thinking of 1 subscriber, 10 subscribers, you start thinking in the thousands. I don't want to get that next 1,000. I want to get that next 2,000.
Yeah,
but
you have to, and
one by one.
That's really the key. If you approach YouTube with a business mindset, that's kind of how you have to look at it. And you know, if you think about it as a business, and I've worked, YouTube hasn't really been my main thing for a long time. I worked for 17 years at a company. So I have a business background. And if you apply that background to YouTube, it makes it a lot easier to see where you're going, set your goals, figure out what you're trying to do.
KPIs and whatnot.
Yeah, and all that. And then because what a lot of people don't realize is YouTube provides you a huge amount of incredible stats and analytics, and it's all free. And you know, this stuff is the kind of details I wish my company had been able to generate for me when I worked there, because it's all beautifully generated with graphs. You don't have to look at spreadsheets with, you know, lots of rows of numbers that it's really hard to see what's going on. And they do an incredible job. And it's not the most glamorous side of it, but it really helps you pinpoint the direction you should go in.
Definitely. And it's still just kind of interesting to think about how YouTube is still such a platform that you could make some growth on. I was talking to someone the other day about podcasts and how we're hitting like the 5th wave of podcasts at this point. But the same thing goes for YouTube. A little bit farther along, we're hitting like the 10th wave of YouTubers. And people still think that it's too late. But
no.
On the big macro scale of things, we're still so early on everything on the internet, let alone platforms like this. And I honestly do think that as big as YouTube is now, this might be a controversial point, I think it's going to die out. I think something's going to replace it that's better. But it's going to be kind of the same thing, just maybe decentralized or something like that. But it's interesting how, regardless of what you think it is now, it's going to change. But it's also still going to be perfectly applicable for you to make a channel, grow, and become whatever you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, technology is evolving all the time. And I remember reading in a magazine, there's a new search engine come out and it's called Google, and it's trying to aim to be a bit different. And it's going to take on Yahoo and Ask Jeeves and, you know, all these old things. Like, oh, really? Oh, maybe I'll give it a go, and all the rest of it. And now they've grown, and will something replace them? Well, if you look at mobiles, Nokia were the dominant force. Who's going to knock Nokia off? And then one day, all of a sudden, where's Nokia?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's incredible. So yeah, you might be right. And not everything is built to last forever. And in technology terms, something better could come along, but I can't see it going anywhere anytime soon. And there's absolutely still room for more creative, you know, 20 billion users.
Yeah.
You know, even if you get a minuscule percent of that, that's still a lot of people watching your videos.
Well, and then the whole continent of Africa is going to be going on to the internet more and more over the next coming decades too. So that's a whole nother, like, billions of people coming onto the internet and becoming subscribers, content creators, whatever. What not have you?
I think it's cross-generational. So unlike Facebook, where you have a lot of the younger generation now going, no, I'm not on Facebook because my parents are on Facebook. That doesn't apply to YouTube, because it's not putting, unless you have a channel, it's not you putting yourself out there for your parents to look you up on, like it would be on Facebook. It's you watching, and it's you know, you basically build your own channel package, don't you? It's the ultimate free subscription of, oh, well, I like that person, and I'll subscribe to them. And, you know, my mum and dad like those people, they subscribe to different people. And your experiences will be totally different. So I don't think there'll ever be that generational problem of, oh, it's for old people.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why people keep thinking about TikTok, is that it's too young for people. And I really want to talk to you about TikTok a little bit later, but I think at this point, it's really interesting to think about alternatives to YouTube, because there's obviously YouTube, there's Facebook Watch, which is trying to grow, but like you said, there's that generational divide on that platform, and I don't think they're going to pull in enough of my generation and the younger generation to really kind of balance that out, at least not for a while. And then there's TikTok, and there's IGTV, which is a whole nother beast to talk about. It's just interesting to think about how there's other platforms out there, but YouTube has made it so simple, and like you said, so quick to on the draw, that it's really hard to compete with.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, they've got the backing of Google. So your videos that do well will turn up in the Google search, which is a massive plus. Their interface works really well. They've got a lot of support available. And they've just nailed it. They've just got it right. And okay, they may have been a bit slow on the uptake when it came to game streaming, but you know, they've come back. They've got their own YouTube game streaming platform now. And I just think it's going to be very difficult for anyone to dislodge them. And yeah, okay, you've got your Facebooks and you know, taking them on, trying to take them on with Facebook and Instagram, but you know, the Instagram live, the Instagram video stuff, I had a little look at that. They tried to push the vertical format, which at least was a differentiator.
Yeah.
But as someone who's on YouTube, if I want to put my YouTube videos on to Instagram, which I did try, then you kind of have to upload them the wrong way and assume that people will turn their phone.
Not necessarily though, because we can talk more about this later with the repurposing, but some videos can be, even if it's horizontal, like this one's going to be horizontal, but it could also be, there's like text and captions below it. So I have a repurpose tool that allows me to do that, where I have the title, the video, and then the text. So at least it's kind of in a vertical usage, but yeah, obviously the actual video itself is tiny in the middle.
Yeah, I think they were really going after a different market. You know, people that film for YouTube, and like, you know, people like me would try and upload it to Instagram. But what they were really after was trying to carve out a new generation of content creators on their platform, as opposed to, I think, trying to topple YouTube.
Yeah, there's really only one alternative that I see that could possibly down the line compete with YouTube, and that's D.tube, D.tube, where it's a decentralized alternative, so built on the blockchain. And it's supposed to be a little bit more for the people versus the centralized approach that YouTube has. Like the whole adpocalypse thing was because it was centralized and YouTube made all decisions that the creators didn't like. Whereas with D.tube, it's more of the creators building it up rather than the other way down.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to that, isn't there? At least with YouTube, YouTube's a business. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they're going to run it like a business. They're going to invest where it's working. They're going to get rid of things that don't work. That's not always going to go down well, but there's a lot of safeguarding there. They have a huge amount of momentum, and they don't really have to explain YouTube to people. The problem with any challenger is straight away, if you, like I know people who can watch YouTube on their TV because it's just built into the TV. So it's nice and easy. Try and explain, right, you need to get on this decentralized platform, and they'll be like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So any new technology is going to face a massive barrier in that if it's tricky to use, YouTube isn't. Yeah. So you've got to overcome that barrier first of all, haven't you? Then you've got to get the content on, then you've got to satisfy the content creators that they're going to get paid at least as well as they do on YouTube. Yeah. And if it's by the users, who's ultimately going to be taking responsibility if something goes wrong, or you want to complain about something, or you've got questions, you know, then it starts to get a little bit murky. A
bit more democratic, but yeah.
Yeah, a bit more. Yeah, it can be democratic. Yeah, I mean, I don't completely dismiss the idea, because you know, these things have a habit of staying in the background for a long time, and then, you know, like Bitcoin's been around and BitTorrents and all that kind of stuff, and then boom, they just explode into the mainstream all of a sudden. There's a tipping point, isn't there? But I do think with something like that, to get creators on board, they need to be at least as good as YouTube to get people interested.
Well, speaking of like booming and being on the mainstream, how did you achieve that 10 million views? Kind of going back to that point, how did you think that virality happened?
So it was a combination of a few things, I think. In part, it was a bit of luck, because I struck on a few videos that have done really well and stood the test of time. And then in part, it was looking at the videos that have done well and building on that. So one of the videos that's done very well is, and it's not really a tech one at all, but I had a house extension, and I just filmed that process. And looking back, I now realize that it's a power that everyone has to be successful, but it's very difficult to master, which is storytelling. Yeah. And I was telling the story for, you know, it had a beginning, a middle, an end of this extension. And even to this day, I'll have comments going, wow, this is amazing. Thanks for showing me all this. Or some people will put, actually, I don't like that. I'm like, oh, thanks. That's my house you're talking about.
Always the haters.
Yeah. So that was a little bit unusual for me, but I enjoyed that process, and I got very lucky with that. So, you know, people then, once they find that, they go, oh, well, what else has this person done? And they click through and they go to your page and they have a little look and they go, oh, okay, I like this. And every now and again, I'll get a comment from people going, I just stumbled across your channel and you've got such a calm way about you. I've just watched like 10 of your videos back to back. It's just chilled me out because I'm not one of the super hyper Americanized YouTubers, you know, yeah, come on,
guys,
that's not my that's not my style at all. So people often just quite like just watching it, not necessarily for the product, but just because it's just a bit calming. And then the other, I mentioned this before, the planetarium reviews I did a planetarium review. They brought out another one. That one had done really well, so I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll review it. And then I built on that success by getting other planetariums in and doing verses. And so you have to look at the trends of which videos have done well, and then try and build on that and do more of that if possible. And this is where, you know, going back to the Linkin Park thing, if you focus on one area, when you get that one area right and you start producing something that works, then you just keep doing more of that and you can keep growing.
It's interesting you say that too, because a lot of people like you who are coaches or course creators on YouTube, everyone always says niche down, niche down, niche down. So you can really kind of focus on that audience. For myself, though, which is kind of the premise of this show as well, is about being a polymath, which is almost the opposite of niching down, where you're having multiple niches. And so it's a very weird dichotomy of like, as a content creator, I know I need to niche down in order to build subscribers and growth. But as a polymath, I want to make multiple niches. So what do you see that kind of being a
I got to hold my hands up here because the whole, you know, really niching down to one area is something I've not been able to do. So really, I should just be reviewing, I don't know, just reviewing planetariums or just reviewing mobiles, but I don't. I review a lot of different things. And in part, that's because the way I set up my channel was, I didn't set my channel up because of YouTube. I set it up because I was doing reviews on Amazon. And I'd set up a mobile network here in the UK, and I was managing all the handset range. So I had access to all these phones and I was reviewing them on Amazon. And then people were contacting me, seeing the reviews, because no one was really doing video reviews, and saying, oh, will you review this? Will you review that? And I thought, well, I may as well put the reviews on YouTube as well, because I'd put a video on years ago. The first video I did actually isn't the one you probably think it is, because I think when you had a little look, you saw it was a car cradle or something for a phone. It's actually, the reason I opened my YouTube account was I needed to host a video for eBay where I was selling my lot of Amiga computer products. I don't know if you remember the Amiga, if you had an Amiga.
All my time, I think.
So I had loads of stuff, an Amiga 600, 500, 1200. And I made a little video, and it used the Speedball 2 theme music, which if you don't know it, go Google it. It's amazing. And I put it on YouTube and then slapped that into eBay, into my eBay listing. Forgot all about YouTube, and it clocked up 1,000 views. And they said, oh, you want to monetize the video? I was like, yeah, okay. They've changed how you can monetize things now, but back then it was just like 1,000 views. And so I had the channel there, and I thought, well, let's just start uploading these videos. And so actually, I was doing it for Amazon rather than YouTube, but then YouTube started taking off more than Amazon. But by that point, I was reviewing lots of random things, and so I got lots of random requests. But now, and what I say to everyone else is exactly what you've just said, which is focus in on one viewer, one area, and just keep that singular purpose in mind to start with. You can branch out later on, but to start with, and it's been proven time and time again, start with just focus on one thing. That's what you do. And that's and what I've put together on this course and as a coach is various workbooks to help people do that, because it's easy to say it, but how do you actually figure that out? And that's where you know, engaging with someone like me can really help that process, rather than just trying to go, well, I'm into cameras, so I'm just going to talk about all cameras, because that's too high level. You need to go even further than that. Well,
and it seems with Techtubers usually have to kind of be a little bit more generalistic because of the way of technology. But I think with other reviews, such as like supplement review or something like that, you can niche down a little bit. Here's an idea that you might like, is what I've been doing for my content, is that in order to do the niches that I want to do, I'm treating them as like phases. So I'm going to do a self-education phase and then a polymath exercise phase. And throughout those phases, I'm still going to make videos and content based off of the previous phases, but work on creating a really sustainable cycle for that phase. So I'm working on the mainstream, and on the side, I'll do previous phases. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all, because it's as a creator, you've got to not get bored as well. That's key, especially if, that is a hobby for me, and it was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to learn about video editing. I'd never done it before. And I just thought, well, this looks quite interesting. Let's give it a go. And so you've got to find ways of keeping yourself interested. And certainly when I was doing Amazon stuff, there was a few times when I was like, oh, another power bank. Brilliant. Yeah. Do I really want to review this and show a power bank charging and discharging? Do you know what I mean? So you've got to keep things interesting. And that's why I think struggled. And you know, I'm going through a process at the moment where I'm reevaluating where am I going with the channel at the moment, and can I either focus it down or do things that aren't necessarily always product reviews. Just going back to my original point of it can be quite tricky to film it all. But yeah, I think if you look back and you go, well, that stream I did there worked really well, and then you circle back and do more of that, that would be a valid way of growing your channel quite nicely. If you do too many random things, what you'll find is your one viewer, you're not talking to that person anymore, and therefore they'll unsubscribe or they'll go elsewhere or they'll just stop watching. Like
in the business sense, the buyer persona and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's interesting too because, where was I going to take that point? Different platforms have a different kind of aspect behind of what you need to create. So you're talking about making reviews on Amazon, they almost feel differently than what you would do on YouTube. And I heard that recently Amazon's doing live streaming now, which is a completely thing I did not see coming.
So Amazon approached me. It's quite a bizarre situation. So for years I was publishing on Amazon, and I was getting voted as one of the most helpful reviewers on Amazon. I was one of the first people to do video reviews on Amazon.co.uk, this is, I should say. And on Amazon.com, there was a bit of a backlash. And I don't know if you know about this, but there was a lot of people just posting, getting given products and just posting 5-star reviews. They're just going, yeah, this is brilliant. And basically, they weren't properly reviewing it. And I've had disagreements, shall we say, with people who supply products that are essentially a bit naff. Yeah. And whereas other people just go, yeah, 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. And so Amazon shut down people being able to review things, in theory, that are given to them for review. You're not allowed to submit a customer review. And then about a year later, someone from Amazon contacted me and said, we want to start publishing video reviews on our platform, and we've seen your reviews and we really like them. Would you like to come on board? I was like, yeah, fine, but you stopped me from doing that. I said, it's not a customer review. And what they're actually now building is to keep people on site. You go to Amazon, you go, oh, let's have a look at that product, whatever, it's a phone. Right, now let's go to YouTube and look at the review. So you go off site. And the goal of both Amazon and YouTube is keep people on the site for as long as possible. And so now what Amazon are trying to do is build their own version of YouTube effectively that deals with things like product reviews, Best Buy guides, live streaming, which would involve some sort of product or demonstration to allow people to come on the platform and go, oh, I want to buy this, whatever it is, speaker, camera, whatever. Oh, there's a review. I'll click on that. Oh, I like that. Right, let's buy it. And they never go to YouTube to check it out. So they are making a play for it. And of course, what I guess some people might not realize about Amazon is a large chunk of their business is the back-end IT infrastructure for a lot of other businesses. They know IT really well, and they're bringing that power to bear. And I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go with this, because I've been on it now for quite a while, and I'm racking up a lot of views now on Amazon as well as YouTube. Probably some of them are double, because I'll link in my description to the Amazon product. So they'll see my video, click through, and then they'll see it again on the Amazon page. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see where they go. And of course, they're trying to take on Netflix with their Prime Video. They're trying to take on YouTube with this on platform video service as well. Who knows? They've got the money, they've got the resources. They're going to be a big player in this market.
Well, and it's interesting how you're diversifying like that. And you're talking about how you don't really know how you're going to take the channel coming up here soon. One thing that I feel kind of mixed feelings about, but I wonder what you think, is having multiple channels. So like Linus Tech Tips, for example, big channel, they've been around for a while. They used to do their WAN show on there. They still do, but then they started taking clips of that and putting it on LNG Clips. They have Tech Quickie, which is their little explainer videos. They have Channel Super Fun, which is just a silly one that died out, but they had it. And then they have Tech Linked, which is also another one that's like a short form news thing. So they have all these different channels all kind of linking together. It's interesting how they made that ecosystem, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
It makes perfect sense. If you've got a successful channel, but you want to make other content, you don't necessarily want to dilute that channel. And so you start another channel, which you focus on that one topic, and boom, if it works, you've now got 2 successful channels, presumably both with AdSense revenue being generated and affiliate marketing being generated. And then you start a 3rd channel, and all of a sudden you've got 3 income streams from 3 different areas. And if they are properly diversified, it means that if for some reason channel A's content suddenly can't be made for whatever reason, let's say they do travel videos and all of a sudden you can't travel because of the pandemic, well, they've got, travel gadgets or something on the other channel, and all of a sudden that one they can focus on a little bit more. So it makes sense to me when you realize that what they're doing is niching down each of the channels rather than diluting one successful channel.
True. It's interesting because I've been taking kind of an opposite approach with my Polycast here, where on my actual feed of the Polycast, I had, for a while there was just old episodes that don't really count, but for the actual new versions of the show that I was making, I have the regular Polycast, which can be any kind of link that I want. Usually it doesn't really matter per se. And within that frame, I have these interviews, which can be usually pretty long, that we talked about earlier, like under an hour, over an hour, doesn't really matter as long as people enjoy it. Then I have the short form little micro Polycast where I get little just direct voice to me on the phone or whatever, just seeing these, hey, these are the news updates. Here's what's going on right now, or whatever, what have you. This is a little rant I had. And then I have the Omni content, which is my main series, which is around 15 minutes usually as a video or podcast. It's interesting because I didn't want to split it into different podcast feeds, but I guess podcasting is different than YouTube as well.
It is, but the same principles I think apply. What YouTube has shown is that it's business principles you need to keep in mind when you're starting out, and you can diversify later on. But if you were starting a business now, bricks and mortar business, you wouldn't have a clothes shop, a tech shop, and a cafe all in one little space, would you? You would focus on being one of those, grow it, and eventually you may diversify. But the principle's the same. I think with podcasts as well, you generally, you'll get the long form podcast that you're doing here will have its listeners tuning in because they're like, oh, he's getting interesting guests. They're talking about interesting topics.
Like you.
Yeah. Well, I'm more bigging myself up there, I think. But they wouldn't necessarily listen to you if they're into gardening, because it's you're not having gardening guests. You're not talking about gardening. So the same principle applies. And I think it's sensible to, try and either repurpose the content or produce different types of content for people who want, the shorter form, do the shorter form, longer form, do the longer form. So I think it's perfectly sensible, but I still think you're playing within specific niches, or you've got specific roles for each of those. So you are still applying the same principles.
Yeah. I still have the niche of polymathy and the sub niches of the innovation and whatever self-education, whatever I'm going for. So yeah, you're right. I think we're saying the same thing here. So you mentioned the pandemic and whatnot. Have you faced any problems as a content creator because of it?
Well, I create a lot of content at home. So in that I can still be at home, that's fine. I can't go out as much now. We're currently in the UK, we're in a state of lockdown. We can go out for walks now. And typically if I was reviewing a mobile, I'd take it out and about. So I recently reviewed the new OnePlus 8 Pro, and that was right in the middle of lockdown, where I basically had to test the outdoor bit, walking around my garden just in a circle. I suppose the biggest impact it's had on me is companies are not marketing products as much as they were. So I typically get a couple of requests a week to review products, and that's dried up at the moment. It's people just aren't looking to have products reviewed because everything's just slowing down. So they don't want to spend money on marketing, and that includes giving away products. And people aren't buying the products, even if they were being marketed, because everyone's now worried about job security. Are they being furloughed? Are they being made redundant? So and this is one of the reasons I'm thinking, what's next? Everything about that is slowing down quite a lot, and we don't know when it's going to kick back in. I know Amazon's doing very well out of it, as we see on the news. But what will happen next? Who knows? Hopefully people will be able to return to work, and business will get back to a new normal, a new usual soon, and I'll start getting some requests again.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering in the meantime, or until then, what you could do to pivot with Reviewify, the channel, and like just your overall tech channel in general. Like, I wonder, Reviewify might suffer a little bit because it's not getting more technology to review, obviously. But perhaps you as a creator might be able to find some kind of outlet that'll help still build your brand throughout the time. Maybe YouTube, this is like a perfect time to really dig into the YouTube coaching, because a lot of people are wanting to start content creating because of the quarantine.
And it's one of those things where, I've started to introduce a few software reviews as well, because software is quite easy to get hold of and it's quite interesting to look at. And so I have started to introduce new elements to keep me going. But at the same time, it's not always a bad idea to take a break. You don't have to be a slave to creating content. And if I miss a week, my channel still gets views, I still get subscribers, and I actually get to recharge. Sometimes you have to have that downtime. So I'll see how it goes. I've always had a backlog of products. So I've actually still got, and the reason that on the video, the background's blurry is because behind me, there's just like a ton of a stack of stuff, headphones and things. So I've still got stuff to go at for now. But yeah, I am now working on what's the next phase for my channel and for me. And I want to try and, retain, I've had a lot of people subscribe to me recently. I wouldn't want to lose them by doing such a pivot. They're like, what's this? This isn't what I signed up for. So it's something I'm working through. And again, as with all the YouTube stuff, I'll take something from it, I'll learn from it, and I'll be able to help out those people who are working with me with their channel. But a lot of them are at such the early stage now, I don't think they're going to face any sort of pivot problem for a long time.
Definitely. And you were mentioning how you're starting to sort of pivot to software and whatnot. What's your opinion on lifetime deals?
Well, my name's Mark, and I'm an AppsumoAlholic. Basically, if you don't know what AppSumo is, it's a website, and they basically very vigorously vet software deals and put them on for a lifetime price, usually a lifetime price, not always, but you'll pay $59, $69, and you'll get access to some software that would normally cost you $59 or $69 a month. So to me, it's a good deal. It's not a massive amount of money until you become a bit of a limited aholic and start buying too many of them. But I think, there's a lot of good stuff out there. You can fall into the trap of thinking it's going to be a magic bullet, and they will solve problems. Software helps solve problems. It helps you work smarter rather than harder, but you still have to put the work in. They don't always magically fix whatever's, the problem you're trying to solve. But I've had a lot of great deals on there. I've had a few deals that I haven't used and probably should have got a refund on. They have a very generous refund policy. And I do think, the world is moving online. So these kind of tools are going to become more and more common in people's lives, I think, as more people are trying to do more online. They're looking for more ways of doing things. So yeah, I'm a big fan of online software. I think, I'm a child of the 80s, so I remember software coming on tapes and massive floppy disks.
I remember early CDs. Like I'm not.
Yeah, so but now, take games, for example. Within a few clicks on Xbox or PC or whatever, click, bang, you've got a new game downloading. I don't have to go to the shop. I don't have to pick it up and take it to there. It's just a few clicks and it's there. So, and the fact that software now doesn't even need to be installed because it's just in the cloud, it still blows my mind. I still think it's an incredible achievement that we've got here so quickly.
Well, and you were saying something about refunds and whatnot. That's one thing about LTD deals, is that a lot of people worry about the longevity of it. And I think the real kind of thing to keep in mind is that they're really cool. Like, bear that in mind. They are really cool. Like he's saying, I'm saying, but there's always that kind of risk involved where it's almost like you're investing in that company. And if something happens to that company, like I invested in a social media tool that got bought out, and that really left a sour note on me. And I got a refund for that particular one, but there was another social media tool that I got in that I didn't get a refund for, and it just didn't really do much for me. Every time I use it, it just doesn't really work. My account always just gets disconnected every time I go on. So it's like, it doesn't actually do its job. But it's interesting. Alternatively, I got my podcast host and one of my email marketing tools that I've used through LTD deals, and they've been fantastic and awesome and unique. And I think it's really cool how you can get ahead of everyone else and really kind of get that really first mover advantage on these particular tools or platforms.
Yeah, you have to understand it's always a gamble because they could fold. It may not work. They may have got their costs wrong. I know that, having read up on it, I know that the guys behind AppSumo put in a lot of work vetting their deals to ensure that it isn't going to just collapse within 6 months and that they can sustain a huge influx of users. So that gives me certainly some comfort. There's clearly a lot of limited deals out there that potentially are a lot riskier than that. And you've just got to look and go, well, if it's $27, $57, whatever the price, you know, can I afford to lose that? Yes, I can. Well, let's give it a go. If I get 3 months out of it, 12 months out of it, and then it goes, I know I need it, and I'll find an alternative. If after 6 months it collapses and I've not even logged in, well, more for me for buying something I didn't actually need.
Yeah.
So, sorry, go on.
Well, it just kind of reminds me of when I first bought my Xbox 360, I bought it pretty late into the lifespan. And so most of the games were like $5, $10. And so I basically had the same kind of deal mentality. I became an Xboxaholic, buying all these games. And I only played about 10% of them.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with Steam sales too, with people playing.
Yeah.
It's like you buy a whole bunch of them over the years, or you get them as gifts, and then you just never end up playing them. So yeah. And
you know, there's a lot of great tools out there, and like I say, some I use a lot, some I've not really touched now, and you know, I go back to and I have a little play with, and I've bought just in case I can think of a use for them later on. But you know, at some point the madness has to stop.
I think that's a hoarder mentality right there.
Yes, but at least it's digital hoarding. I don't have to find a physical place for them. It's just there. And what I love about AppSumo as well is you can go to the product section and see all your past purchases. So if you've forgotten what you've bought, you can scroll through and go, wow, I forgot about that one. Let's check that one out. So yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of online deals like that, because you know, it helps the company if they're in a position where they're looking to raise some money and they're stable enough to do this. It gives them a bit of cash to maybe do some development or whatever it is they're planning to do. It gives you access to potentially some really useful tools. And I have used a lot of them. And you know, everyone's really a winner as long as you make use of the tool. You know, if you use it for 2-3 months and it's, you know, $50 a month and you've paid $50, well, you're already in profit, as it were. You've made your money back, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, and that actually leads me to my next point. Before we kind of move on a little bit, is that I tested out almost every email tool that I could afford or try out and whatnot. One of my favorites was ConvertKit, which is one of the more famous ones, but it's so expensive. $30 a month for a small user base is just not sustainable, especially for a creator like me who's not generating income from my brand yet, or I won't for a while probably either. And I was like, okay, I really want this because of the simplicity of it. A lot of the other tools kind of have an archaic way of segmenting, which is kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of email marketing there. But like whenever you're segmenting, you really want to get those tags specific, and I couldn't do it on any other tool. And this Automizy is the one I've been using that I got for that deal. The way they have it there is so simple, and it's $50 for one time. I think it's over now though, but instead of paying $30 a month, after 1 month, I've already gotten more use out of it than multiple months. So it's
absolutely. Yeah. And I bagged, there's a website, audio.com, and spelt with double I, and that was offering lifetime music access. So, you know, for my videos, and the price on that was a lot more than it would be on AppSumo, but it's basically pay for a year's access and that's it. You don't ever pay again. Now, when you look around at a lot of these sites, you know, they're normally $200 a year, or, you know, between $100 and $200 a year to get music that you can use on YouTube and other projects. So it seemed like a very sensible investment, because I've been on YouTube for a long time. I'm going to be on YouTube and making content. And I've been very pleased with that one. You know, YouTube has a great audio library, but sometimes you want something that sounds a little bit more professional. So if you keep your eyes open, there's some great deals to be had, but you've got to be willing to just go for it and take that gamble. As you say, it is like investing in the company, and if it feels like you're spending a lot of money that you are worried about, then you probably shouldn't do it. It's, you know, it's as simple as that. But if you think, well, you know what, it's not too bad. It's, you know, it's about the right price. I think I could use it. Give it a go. Certainly with a lot of these deals on AppSumo, you get 60 days money back guarantee. You know, you can just press a button and it refunds it. So if you don't use it, you don't like it, you just send it back and you got your money back. So it's very low risk if you use the right websites for it.
Definitely. So kind of pivoting a little bit, still talking about software though, what is your kind of opinion, thoughts, interests when it comes to like automation and repurposing?
Yes, it's an interesting one. I think, as I say, tools that help you work smarter rather than harder are really useful. So I think being able to have an automated flow that helps you do something can be brilliant. And you know, I think you mentioned in your email to me you'd spotted I used Missing Letter, which was an interesting investment for me. I don't really use Facebook and Twitter that much, and the thought of every time I publish a review having to compose a set of tweets and Facebook posts and all that kind of stuff. It's just like, oh, I can't be bothered. And so that was a really good investment for me, because I did a written review this morning on my website, and within half an hour, Missing Letter had dropped me an email to say your campaign's ready, and it had composed 12 pieces of content that it will drip out over the next 12 months, or whatever I got it set to. So I just simply go down, make some adjustments, select the photo, maybe change some of the text and wording, press a button, and that's it. Now I know that for the next 12 months, every now and again, on my Facebook page and on the Twitter page, it'll go, oh, here's a review about this. And it just means if I've not been personally active, at least there is still something going out.
Yeah.
So I think if you get the right tool and you can get the hang of the automation, I think they can be really useful in helping you get back some of that time that otherwise you might have to spend yourself, or maybe even hire someone to deal with, which, as you know, as a solo creator, when it comes to money, you want to do everything yourself to stop having to pay anyone else, don't you? So those kind of tools can be very useful.
Well, and I totally agree. And it's actually interesting that you mentioned Missing Letter. It's one of the questions I had like down the line and whatnot. And I've looked into and I've tried over 90 social media management tools. I've at least looked into them, if not actually used them for trials or paid for them. And there was only 2 that got anywhere close to what I needed to do: CoSchedule and Missing Letter. And Missing Letter, because you could do it over time. I wanted to make campaigns for every content piece, and not necessarily like, oh, this whole week you're getting a burst, which I know Missing Letter can do, and obviously CoSchedule can with a little bit more freedom. But I wanted it to be semi-automated. I didn't mind going in, like you said, changing the text, adding some images, that kind of thing. Although with Missing Letter, actually, I had a lot of issues with personally. But I think for just sharing stuff out, it is really nice to just have that campaign made. Like you said, the 12-month cycle, or in some cases, just kind of spreading it out like an echo in a way.
And you can change it. You know, if it's a timely piece, you can just set it to 2 weeks and then it disappears. But the process is the same. It's how long do you want it for? Here's your list. Click, click, click. Fine, done.
Well, and you know what's crazy is that out of like those 90 tools, only a handful of them could actually do any sort of automation like that, let alone a campaign. It's like, why can't you do a campaign?
Yeah. And this is where, you know, you start to see these tools falling by the wayside. Mm-hmm. So that tool was one I picked up on Appsumo's limited deal, but it was actually a returning tool because it had been so popular the previous year, or I think it was actually on before I started using the website, that it had returned to pick up some more users, and I banked it. And that's one of the tools that I do still use. It's just there in the background. I don't really need to log into it because it is automated. I have got it linked to my website's RSS feed. Whenever I publish something new, you know, same day at some point, I'll get an email saying, right, your new campaign's ready. Come and check it out and approve it.
Well, I know it's funny because when I was scrolling through your Twitter feed doing my research phase, I saw some pictures from there because I can tell by the quote box that it's one
the little quote thing. Yeah.
But,
I'm sure if I dug into it, I could probably customize it a lot more. But it's one of those where it's like, well, whatever, just throw it out. It's done. Does the job.
I like how you can change like the colors and whatnot, but yeah, I felt that it was a little not customizable enough for me because I really like being creative with it. I wanted my colors, and it can do that now, but yeah, it was just kind of a hit or miss kind of situation. Yes, I want to be automated so that way I can take pressure off me as a solopreneur, but I also want to be entertaining for my followers and not just kind of be like, hey, I'm just sending this out for the sake of sending it out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is, I mean, you know, I've got to hold my hands up. I'm not a Twitter or Facebook expert. And, you know, I'm probably doing sometimes it's more damage than good, because I imagine I've managed to schedule 5 pieces of content to be tweeted one after the other on the same day because I've not really looked at it properly. But, you know, if you really dig into it and you spend a lot of time on it, I think it's worth investigating those kind of tools. And if they can do something, I mean, Zapier is amazing, isn't it? The amount of products that links to, it's just taking all the hard work out of flinging things from one SaaS tool to another. Mm-hmm. It's an incredible platform. But you have to be minded to dig into it. And this is what I was saying before. These kind of platforms and tools, they are great, but you do have to put a bit of work in. If you don't put the work in, they're just a tool, aren't they? It's like any tool, a physical tool, a hammer. It looks very pretty, but unless you know how to use it correctly, you're not going to get the nail out or get the nail in properly. So you've got to put the work in to understand how to use the tool.
Yeah, definitely. And I ended up having to kind of change things or reiterate things, and found out the hard way that the things I wanted to do was part of the pay plan, not free plan. But yeah, c'est la vie. I do it for the audience. And I was worried about the same thing, kind of what you're saying there, where eventually when you have that kind of automation set up where you're spreading out over time, there's going to be some point where a lot of them are going to hit somehow on the same day. But I think it depends on how much you're creating, how much you're automating. I like your opinion on this. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But if you have, you know, some people are masters of certain platforms, and I think automation tools probably won't work for them because they want to hit the send button themselves. If you are focusing on one platform and the others are just in the background, that's where those tools can be really helpful.
I like doing all these different platforms. I actually went out of my way to learn each platform specifically, and I want to be able to create posts for each one. And it's just, as a polymath, I want to do all of them. But as a solopreneur, I have to be wise about how I spend my time. So I think that you understand that completely too. It's just interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pivoting a bit, what started Reviewify? I kind of mentioned that a little bit, but
yeah. So that's the supporting website. And when I was at work for this company, it started off as a very small company, and I was a man who had to wear many hats effectively. And one of the hats I wore for a while was PR, writing press releases and coming up with ideas. And eventually they decided we'd grown enough to actually have a marketing team. And so they took that work off me and the website work off me. I kind of missed writing it a little bit. And this was around the time I was starting to do video reviews. And I thought, well, you know, people are going to need to contact me if they want something reviewing. And I was quite interested in understanding WordPress. I'd never used it before. So I thought, well, you know, let's have a go. So I set up a WordPress website that became Reviewify, and it started out pretty small, pretty basic, and was just some way of people being able to find me. And rather than me publishing my email address, which I didn't want to do, they could fill out a form and that would email me, and I could keep it separate to my personal email then. And it's just there. It's stayed with me all along. It's the main way people contact me now for reviews, and I've published a lot on there. I've bolted on various extra tools so people can find discount codes, and there's affiliate links to various UK companies just to try and help pay for itself. But it's taught me a lot about websites and WordPress in particular, and getting things set up, and that's allowed me to help other people set up their websites as well. So the person I mentioned before who set up Pilates YouTube channel didn't have a website. She'd been doing Pilates for years and had nothing. So I got that set up, got her on Google Maps, and then she giddily texted me and said, "Oh, someone's just said they found me via Google Maps. I've been missing out on business all this time. Thank you very much." So it's one of those things where, you know, when I'm trying things out for myself, in part, and sometimes it's to learn it so I can help others, because I'm not like super smart or anything. I can't get into the code, but I can understand enough to help people who just have no idea where to begin, and give them that leg up and that initial training of, right, we've got it set up, it's online, here's how you press this button here, you type your post out, you press publish, then it goes live, it'll appear on your front page, job done. So that's been really interesting, and it's there, it does okay. It's now a very established website and comes up a lot in searches when you search for review of. So I've been very pleased with it. I gave it a revamp earlier this year, and I keep looking at it and trying to change it, but there's only so much time in the day, so I think that will just stay as it is. So I try and publish a written review to go alongside any video reviews that I do, and that way when I'm contacting people who have products, I can say I'll publish it on YouTube, on my website, and if the product's on Amazon, I'll publish it on Amazon as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that kind of made me think of is kind of going back to the whole repurposing or automation. There's actually a tool I really love called repurpose.io. But the guy who made this WordPress plugin called Simple Video Press. Not sure if you heard of it, but
no, I've not heard of that. No.
Basically, every time you make a new video, it'll automatically post to your page, to your website, making a post.
Very interesting. Yeah.
And that might help automate your process a little bit there.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I was looking at that tool you sent earlier, and I know that particular one is a bit more slanted to podcast creators, but again, I can see the value of using a tool like that where you can simply press the button to launch your podcast, and then that starts the wheels turning of getting everything else going. And even if you have to edit some of the stuff, at least it's started that process for you and taking out a few steps. And again, it's that working smarter rather than harder, isn't it? It's making life easier for yourself.
Well, and like you said, it's slanted towards podcasts, but it actually does like live streams and videos just as well. And
Yeah.
so, like it's the only tool that I've actually used the affiliate link on my site really ever, just because it's one of the only tools that I actually really stand behind
Yeah.
actually selling that way. But it's one of those things where being able to make a Facebook Live and then automatically post it to YouTube or have it broken down into an audio for a podcast if that's your thing. It's really nice to be able to do something like that. And I thought maybe that YouTube video to blog post would be really helpful for you too.
Yeah, yeah, and I've experimented before with vidIQ, which can do something similar in that it can cross-post your YouTube video to your Facebook page, so it's native on Facebook, which was something I experimented with for a bit, but I decided to just focus on YouTube really, and it's the same has been true of the website. I do post things on there, but generally now my focus is get the videos on. That's where the growth is, and the website can support it. Where I want to put something on if I think there's value there.
Yeah. So pivoting a little bit, can you define your love of tech in one word?
Curiosity, I think.
Okay.
So I'm curious about what things do. I'm curious about what problems they solve, how they can help people. And, so I get a piece of tech and, I don't generally like to look at the manual, what man does. It's just how we're built. I like to just turn it on and play with it and figure it out and see what it does. So I think a lot of tech has, it's not quite as amazing as it once was. I remember getting my first color mobile phone and I had you used to get the orange screen or the green screen and you turned it on and it was color and it was like, wow. And you don't quite get that amazement as much anymore, but I do still, if I get a new phone, I do still get curious about, well, what's it going to do different to the last one? Yeah. Is it going to be better? And that's become more difficult, I think, for the manufacturers to get that wow factor anymore. And you see that quite a lot, don't you? With every release, it's just like, what's different? Well, they've changed the megapixel count and they've made it a bit more slower, the slow motion and all that kind of stuff. 5G, woo! But it's not really got the same impact that it once did in the phone world anyway.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you say curiosity is your kind of main thing. You also mentioned earlier that you're rather generalist at your old job where you were kind of taking a lot of hats, and so to speak. And it's funny that you say that because when I saw your profile, when I was looking into you too, I got that generalist vibe, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show. And the fact that you say curiosity has been a common theme of a lot of the guests I've had on the show too. So it's really interesting how great minds think alike.
Thank you. But yes, yeah, my previous employer benefited from that curiosity, as they'd often just say, right, we want to be a mobile phone provider, go make that happen. Yeah. We need to launch an electricity supply company, go make that happen. And that'd be it really. You just go off and have to figure this stuff out. And, it's the same with that's why I made the website, because I just I was curious about WordPress. Why I started on YouTube in a way was because I was curious about developing a YouTube channel. And I happened to have a load of videos on Amazon. And as well, I think at the time, do you remember that Charlie Bit My Finger video that did the rounds many years ago? I don't know if you remember that. So it was a British family. You're going back a long time now, because this is before I started YouTube proper. And it was a British family, and the little boy bit his brother, and the little kid goes, Charlie bit my finger. And that was it. And it exploded. It was just one of those viral videos for some reason. And they were on our Good Morning show. And I think they said something like the video had exploded in such a way that it will pay for them to go to university. And I thought, oh, well, that's quite interesting. Yeah, I've got videos. Maybe I'll put them on. And so, although I didn't do it specifically for money, because I think money is an indicator you're doing well rather than a reason to do something. I certainly decided at that point, well, let's start. I've got all these videos. I'm doing it. Let's put it on YouTube and see if any of them go anywhere, and see if it can pay for itself, which it now does. It helps pay to keep the channel going. I reinvest the money I make from that on buying either kit or software or products to review.
Well, and it's a good way to have that entrepreneurial spirit too. That's what a lot of these tech or digital entrepreneurs are doing. Like the really good ones don't take the money for themselves to go buy stuff. They use it to reinvest into the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think your best example of that is a YouTuber called Mr. Beast, who runs it very much like a business, and who has said, every time he gets money from YouTube, he reinvests it into the next video. And that has seen some incredible videos come out where he's given away $10,000, a house, all this kind of stuff. And he's an incredibly generous guy, but he's putting it all in, reinvesting it like a business. He's in that growth stage of invest, invest, invest. And it's made him one of the biggest YouTubers out there. And his videos are incredible. Don't get me wrong. He's nailed the structure of a video. He's nailed the suspense, the storytelling. You know, he's if you've not heard of him, go check him out, because his videos are, some of them just seem insane. Some of them, you know, he rings up a guy to deliver pizza, then takes the guy, says, oh, if I pay you, will you come shopping with me for this new house? And he goes round and this guy's helping him shop, thinking he's just, you know, carrying stuff. And then at the end of it, he goes, right, here's the keys, here's your house. And it's just an amazing video. And, you know, the guy's really touched, and he's in, some of them are like mini documentaries, but it's that business mindset of reinvest into your channel rather than just taking it for yourself.
Yeah. Well, speaking for yourself, though, what is your favorite gadget, piece of tech, or like tool that you've gotten your hands on?
So I was thinking about this, and I think the thing recently in the last few years that has really given me that sense of wonder and wow factor was actually the Oculus Rift, because I had tried out mobile headsets. You know, they came out pretty early on, and they're all right, you know, whatever. And you know, having tried out a lot of gadgets, there's not that much that, you know, I go, oh, well, this is a nice gadget, but there's nothing really that ever makes me just go, that's a new experience. And the Rift really gave me that. I put it on, the headphones on, and I can sometimes suffer quite bad vertigo. And I was playing this game, and I looked down, and I was on the top of whatever it was, a big pillar, and all of a sudden I almost fell over because it gave me vertigo. Yeah. So, and the feeling of, you know, when you're doing a space game or when you're doing a shooting game, and that physicality of, you know, shooting the guns and everything, it's like nothing I'd ever experienced before. So although it's a bit of a, some people might see it as a bit of a gimmick, and I don't play on it loads, you know, it's the one thing that when I put it on, I'm reminded that that is an incredible bit of kit. And if you've not tried one, VR is proper VR. Is proper incredible.
VR. That's a key distinction there.
That is the key distinction. Proper VR.
I actually got a little tangent story to tell you. So one of my side jobs over the years has been working for escape rooms, and I worked for one that was all like indoors, actually real life. You're going into the room, really good place. And then the next one I worked at, not really the greatest company, but they had these VR escape rooms. It was one of their gimmicks that they had there, and it was actually very interesting. I don't think they actually made the rooms per se. I think they actually just got some Unity demos or something like that, because they weren't very like that crazy hard to solve. But you go into this like bedroom sized room, and there's just a hole in the wall where leads up to the lobby. And I think they were going to have curtains, but they're like, nah, whatever. So they have 4 headsets, so four people could play. And I think one of them was broken, so only 3 of them could do it. So you have like these 3 people with these backpacks, Zotac gaming backpacks. So basically they had the PC on you.
PC on their back.
Yeah, and that's a lot better than just like streaming it through the Wi-Fi. They had the headsets connected to them, and you had the, it was HTC Vive, I believe. And so they had the Vive controllers. And you're actually sitting there solving the puzzles in VR. And I think it was still kind of a rudimentary experience, since VR is still kind of in its infancy, still even at this point. But it was interesting how you go in there and you're like, oh, this is actually a very weird experience. And one of my first experiences there sitting at the desk was like this one kid in the VR headset. And he just like tries to lean on a table and just falls right over.
It's incredible how much it tricks you. And, you know, when I've had people over, and I've not got a massive room that the VR's in, and I always have to say to them, listen, I'm going to put this on. In a couple of minutes, you're gonna think you're in a really open space, but you're not. Please try and remember that you're in a enclosed area, and there are people around you. And more often than not, you do still have to duck out the way as they're trying to fight something or shoot something or whatever. And you have to just be like, whoa, just calm down a little bit, because it really tricks the senses, and that's what gave me that wow factor. And I don't know if you've ever tried. There's the Starfleet's one, the Star Trek one, where they combined. Oh, now I'm a big Star Trek fan. Always have been, and they basically you're sat at one of the either as the captain or one of the navigators or whatever, and if you're the captain, what they introduced was I've forgotten which one it's called now. It's the AI that was on the Jeopardy TV show, the IBM Watson. Yeah. So if you know IBM Watson, so you could sit there in your VR and you could say raise shields, and then it'd raise shields ahead 1/4 impulse. So if you're a big Star Trek fan like I am, that is as close as you're ever going to get. And it just feels like you're on the set It's incredible. And some of the shooting ones and the scary ones, you know, when things are jumping at you, you can't help but back away. It's incredible.
That's crazy. And kind of going back on that whole point of just being in that experience, when I worked there, I would be the one running the room and operating the experience for the people, which I didn't have to do much. Activate a certain scene, do this here and there, but I also had to make sure they didn't break anything. And there was this one overly zealous guy, and basically when you're in that VR space, for those who don't know, there's usually like a grid. So if you get too close to the border of the room that you have, usually take a foot away from the wall, something like that, the grid will pop up saying like, hey, you need to step back. This guy, I don't know what he was trying to do, but he ended up just charging at the grid and just ran straight into the wall. And I felt so bad, but I couldn't help but laugh. Oh, I feel like a terrible person, but it's just one of those funny experiences. Like you said,
watching people play VR is one of the best gaming experiences, because watching people play games, I think generally is a bit dull. I know there's a whole generation that loved watching people on YouTube. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But if you watch someone play a VR game, it's one of the most captivating things you can ever watch, because you can see what's on the screen as well. And then the way people are, because to them it's so, you know, to us it's a flat screen. It's like, okay, whatever. To them, they're in this world, and see them flapping around and shooting and ducking. And these are people who may not play games as well. I've had people who are like, oh, I don't know if I'll be into this. And by the end of it, they're like, that was amazing. That was the most physical workout I've had all week, because, you know, they've been ducking and diving and shooting and grabbing things. Yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit. And I'm going to play on that later.
Yeah,
You just reminded me. I haven't been on it for a while.
Now we're aspiring to do it. And so kind of circling back to one thing you said earlier, I scrolled down to the bottom of your YouTube channel, and I went down to your first video, the first one being a car kit of all things.
Yeah.
And what made you decide that first upload for that car kit versus like the upload?
Well, that's the first upload you can see. That's not my first upload. So I went back, when I started doing product reviews, I went back and there was a lot of random stuff on there, because I was just using YouTube as a video hosting platform, which I think is how a lot of people approached it. And so I've made private a lot of those early videos. That one just happened to be one I'd reviewed on Amazon and just started to upload it. So my aim was really just, let's just throw them on YouTube. I didn't really have much of a plan. I didn't know what I was doing. And so that first year, it's, you know, I'm not even on the videos. It's just Amazon had a 100 megabyte file size. So I had to make the videos really short and concise. And so I've kept that clear, concise mentality, because one thing I always hate when I'm trying to look into a product is 10 minutes of talking head. Look, I'm not, no offense, you're lovely, but you're not why I'm here. I want to see about the product, get on with it. So my videos are always, I try and keep them clear, concise, and not as much of me in it. And the Amazon stuff was really short, and I was just throwing it on YouTube. And then there was the first pivot I made was, right, I'm now making videos for YouTube. And so I started to appear in the videos a lot more. Well, at all, which I didn't do at all. It was just hands, basically, just showing stuff and me talking.
Yeah, you kind of started building your personal brand once you started appearing in the videos. Mark J. Draper being that personal brand. And, you know, I have this kind of conflict in my brain when you were talking about how you made them unlisted. Is like, at this point, you're not slowing down by any means. You said you have a backlog of stuff you can do, but you have that kind of idea of a pivot. What if you were to start listing up all the old videos that you had and just have extra content on the channel that could still be kind of backlinks? Yes, it's not, of course, in your common theme, but as we established, you're kind of generalistic anyway. So
yeah, I mean, I think at this point, the stuff I did years ago is so far back, no one's really going to look at it. The reason I unlisted those first videos was I only had 5 videos on. So if someone came to the channel, they would see a couple of reviews, maybe on a mobile or whatever my early ones were, and then they'd see Amiga lot for sale on eBay. And it wouldn't make any sense. And so I do use YouTube in different ways. And, you know, if it fits in with the channel, it gets released. But sometimes I'll put a video on more just for myself, and it'll just sit there, and I've got access to it just in case I want it later on, not necessarily that it's going to be released. And that's the great thing about the flexibility with YouTube. You can use it in multiple different ways. But the fact that it's free video storage is incredible.
Well, and like there's always the other platforms like Wistia and all these other ones that charge you for video storage. So yeah, you can have a little bit more privacy if you want to have it for.
Yeah, but I guess what they're really charging you for is the security for your videos, aren't they? They're making sure that it's harder to download that content. But again, you know, YouTube have done a great a great service to their creators. In the last year, they've released a tool that allows me to, they have this ability to automatically listen and see videos. And if it matches your content, you can press a few buttons, submit a content takedown request, and have the video removed. And when they introduced this, I found a little tab and I clicked on it, and there was hundreds of videos that have been downloaded from my channel and re-uploaded. Just people just ripping it off rather than making their own. Slapped them all with a content takedown and a strike. And even to this day, I still get, you know, I check it once in a while, still get people downloading and re-uploading. And then I'll get, because it includes your email address, I'll get, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never do this again, and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, no, I'm not taking that back. You stole my content. Yeah, absolutely, you're getting a strike for it. So I think they do have some protection there, but I can understand why people who maybe make training videos want to host it not on YouTube, and they want to host it in a secure environment that they can then link to their training platform, so that when you've paid, you're getting content that isn't available publicly.
Like for your course or something like that. Is there a piece of tech that you've not gotten your hands on?
Yeah, well, it's a weird one, I suppose. I was thinking about this earlier. Have you ever heard of the Thermomix? Is that a thing in America? So I keep hearing about this. I think it's Australian, and it's basically this kitchen gadget, and it basically does everything you could want. So it's quite an expensive bit of kit, but you basically put the ingredients in, and it chops them and it stews them, or it makes risottos, or it kneads dough. It's just look it up later, Thermomix. Really expensive. And the way they sell is very unique as well. You have to have someone come around to your house, and they'll check your environment. Is there going to be a place for it? Because this isn't a gadget you're going to put away. This is an investment. You're buying into a culture. You're buying into an ecosystem. And so, and because they're so expensive, and I don't want to go through all that, because it might be some, you know, I have a nice kitchen, so will I use it? I don't know. But I've always been very curious about whether it can live up to this brand hype that it's created.
That's crazy. Yeah, I'm glad I asked that question, because that's a very interesting particular situation. You were mentioning how your curiosity really makes your interest, like when you get a new phone, like for example, when you got the actual full color phone, it was a very intense curiosity. And same with the Oculus Rift, when you first got that experience, it kind of gives you that really euphoria or endorphins rushing. I remember feeling that when I got my new phones. Most of my phones over the years have had a new experience. They were either iterations big enough or completely different platforms that were such a big change for me that actually had that feeling. Like Nokia Lumia phones. I had all three versions, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10 on Windows phones. So what did you think of the Nokia Lumia line?
I thought they did a really good job of coming up with quite a unique interface. You know, at the time you had iOS was very dominant, and Android had certainly made its mark. To come out with something that was quite different was quite brave of them. It was needed, because if you'd used previous versions of Windows Mobile, that was terrible. It was sluggish. It was slow. It was, you know, it was rubbish. And I think it was very easy to use. I recommended it to quite a few people who, and remember at the time, this was at a time when people didn't necessarily have a smartphone. They still had the older style phone. And yeah, and this became one that I would say, listen, you've never had a smartphone. I think this would suit you, because it's dead easy. Big buttons, very clear to see what's going on. The problem they had was they had this great platform that they'd built, and then no one came to it in terms of the app developers. So it was missing crucial apps that really should just be, if you've got a phone, you always get that app. And that was really their downfall, I think. It was one of those things where they tooted their horn a lot about how amazing it was, but they couldn't get people to develop for it. And then why would you spend the same money on that phone when you could have all the apps that your friends have got with that phone? Yeah, it didn't do enough better to justify losing out on apps. And I think Microsoft took their eye off the ball. They were fixating so much on the hardware and their software. They dropped the ball on realizing it was the fact that they could get lots of software, as you know, on a Windows PC. That was the other thing. They called it Windows, but it wasn't Windows. Yeah, it was Windows Mobile. Yeah. So it was, you know, you'd then be thinking, oh, great, a Windows. So can I do all the same? Oh, no, I can't.
And they weren't connected either. Not until like the very end, they weren't connected. They were very behind on their own timescale too. Yeah. They didn't, I remember there were some features they really liked. They upgraded my OneDrive to many gigabytes more because I had a Windows phone. That was really nice. And I think the Windows Office apps were free on the Windows phone, which was really cool. especially if you wanted to like type in a document, something like that. But it was just like, yeah, like you said, there was no other apps, no Snapchat, no Instagram for a while there. And then like by the time Windows Phone 10 came around, it was kind of funny too, because iPhone, Android, and Windows Phone, even though Windows Phone was such a small market share, like you said, that interface was so unique, they actually started copying each other a lot during that time. And it was very interesting. A lot of features we're used to, like the swipe down menu on smartphones today, came from that device. At least popularity.
Yeah, they got a lot right. They did get a lot right with it. It's just, unfortunately, it didn't gain the traction from developers it needed to survive. And if it had, I think we'd still be using it. You know, you'd think two of the big boys, Nokia and Microsoft, would knock it out of the park. But it just shows you, just because you've been around a long time doesn't necessarily mean you've got the right mindset for what's to come in the future. In some ways, that can hinder you, can't it? Because you're thinking old school, you're thinking our brand name will carry us forwards. And in this case, it just didn't.
Definitely. Pivoting a little bit, you seem like to be a kind of a gamer aspect. What is your favorite kind of game to reminisce on from the old days?
Well, I still play on the PC a game called Sins of the Solar Empire, which I love. It's been around for ages. There's a loyal fan base who are crying out for a sequel. And the developers are bizarre because they still release updates and patches for it, even though I think the last version was released probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, it's a long time. But it is one of those games which, if you've not played it, you're basically in command of Star Empire, and it spans solar systems, and then it can span galaxies. It can be multiplayer, single player. There's no story to it, but that's what gives it the replayability value. So it's a strategy game, real-time strategy. You build up your forces, set defenses, go and invade, do your tech research. Every game's different, and it's just got the best replayability value I have ever had in any game. You can play it in so many different ways, and it's been around for so long now that if you're curious about it, it still looks good. If you're curious about it, it goes on sale quite regularly on Steam. You can pick up the main game and all the DLC for not very much money.
Say the name again.
Sins of a Solar Empire.
Sins of a Solar Empire. Interesting.
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely love it. So that's a game, I haven't played it for a while, but that's a game me and my brother quite often fire up over winter when it's dark and cold, and you can play it over network together, and we'll just, set it all up, and we'll have 8 players on, including us, and we'll just go for it. And that'll be a day. It can span, if you set it up right, it can span a month to play through a full game if you've got multi-galaxies. So I love that. But, I love, probably one of the best games I've played recently was actually last year, was Red Dead Redemption 2. That was a game that's like a really good book. When you start it and you're not quite sure, and it was a bit slow to begin with. But by the end, I was upset that it was ending. I wanted to live in this world. It was just the most incredible game I've played in a long time. It really drew me in. And even though it was, in many ways, it was quite linear, it didn't feel that way. The story was so good. And, I know the fact that you can trigger stories at different times and all the rest of it, I just thought it was an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah, I tried getting into the first one, but I got lost in that one. But it's very interesting that you say that, like, you try to play it, it's really slow at first, and then you get really gripped into it. That happened with me with the Mass Effect trilogy. Yeah. Where the first game, the controls were...
The first game is necessary to play, but it's not a good game, I don't think. But the second and third were brilliant. I really loved those games as well. I thought they were excellent.
Except for the ending in 3, but that's a whole nother tangent there. But and so like that's what you're saying, like how you get into it and you're like, I don't want this to end. Yeah. The moment I got into Mass Effect 1, I did not put it down. Like I just played it for a week straight, beat it. I went everywhere. I did all the planets. I did all the side missions, all that stuff.
And that was a grind in the first one.
Yeah.
Well, and it's very samey, wasn't it? And I can't believe just how good the jump is from 1 to 2. And if you like 1 and you play through it and you're like, that was okay, 2 will blow your mind, because that was just like, right, that was the prototype. Here's the real game.
It was the Empire Strikes Back kind of thing. It's one of those things where they really knocked it out of the park. The intro, the ending, the suicide mission at the end, where it was just literally one of the best endings I've ever played in any of the games I've ever played. And the actual structure of the trilogy was really interesting too, because of the way that your history accumulates. So even those grinding of the planets in the first game gave you some kind of points in the last game that helped the ending of the game. I'm spoiling anything for a 10-year-old series, but it was interesting how just everything accumulated. And so you felt like you actually journeyed with the characters.
Yeah, I think they did a great job of world building and being respectful of what you'd done previously. So many games, they kick off and you're like, this is the sequel. and everything you did in the last game doesn't really matter because we've got a new story for you. Whereas that genuinely, as you say, it did influence it. And, I like the fact that, the second one brought in a lot more of the relationships, but then there was repercussions of that in, depending on what you'd done in the second one, how you were treated in the third one by certain characters. So I just, it was brilliant. I mean, Andromeda, less so. I wasn't too impressed with that, but those two, I think, still stand up. Again, if you've not played them.
Yeah, definitely go into it.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, really. Again, it's that, as I was saying earlier about the YouTube videos, story-driven content is what grips people. And if games nail the story, which Red Dead has, and Mass Effect 2 and 3 did, it grips you and you just love it. Another one for me, I hammered over at Christmas was Life is Strange. Okay. The first Life is Strange was one of those things that was a bit of a don't worry, I won't spoil it. The ending was a bit, but actually the way it was a very calm game. It was one of those, it was a proper story-driven game. And again, I'd recommend that to anyone. It's dead cheap now as well. But that was another one that gripped me because I just found it very captivating in terms of how they were telling the story. And it did some really interesting things around your choices. I can't say any more because I don't want to spoil it for you, but just play it and then get back to me because I think you'll like that one.
It's kind of going off that same idea, but the whole storyline, Detroit Become Human. I don't know if you had a chance to play it because it's an exclusive for PlayStation, but...
No, actually, I've Xbox, PC, not PlayStation.
Yeah. I lucky enough to have all three. I actually bought PlayStation specifically just because of the exclusives. I got a good deal on it from a family member, but it was a very interesting process where when you play this game, literally every single choice compounds into the next story. And there is multiple stories going on at once, and they all impact each other as well. So it's very interesting how it cross streams.
I just think the people behind that are, I can't get my head around it. I mean, those people are true geniuses to be able to keep all that.
Whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, imagine the whiteboard and the flow charts of decision making that they must have to create. It's absolutely crazy. But when it works, it's one of the most engrossing. In fact, sometimes when it works, you don't even realize it's working until you talk to your friends and you say, oh, I just got up to this bit where this happens. They went, no, that didn't happen for me. And sometimes it's so smooth, you don't realize you're down a different path to someone else. And that's part of the fun as well. When you chat to your mates and they go, oh, no, this person did this and they saved me. Oh, no, well, they weren't there for me, so they didn't save me for that.
Or in my timeline, they killed me or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they betrayed me. They went away. Yeah. So yeah, I mean those kind of things. I think the more powerful these consoles get and the more storage, hopefully we'll see a lot more of that being built out to make it more open worldy, where decisions have consequences other than just clicking a button and something. It just plays one dialogue or another.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I just kind of want to say is that I'm really excited to kind of nerd out with you or geek out with you on these video games because out of all my guests, we've talked more about like professionalism or like proactivity, like the more advanced concepts, but I've not been able to get down into the nitty gritty of video games, which is one of my biggest interests in my life. So thank you, Mark, for being on here to talk to me.
That's okay. Yeah, I love video games. I still play on PC and Xbox when I have the time, on my phone. There's so many little games now you can get for free. I'm not a big fan of the whole. I think the problem that a lot of younger kids are going to get is their first experience of video games is going to be pay to play on mobile, where they think that you need hundreds and hundreds of pounds to play a game, when actually some of the packs and offers you get on mobile games are insane. It'd buy an entire collection on Steam for some of the money they're asking. And Steam still has the best collection of games available anyway. It's an incredible platform.
So we've talked a lot about some advanced technologies such as automation, AI, VR. What's something about technology do you think is underdeveloped?
I actually, if we go back to VR, I think there's a lot of scope there, because if the whole visual experience is as advanced as it is, the one thing it's missing is that tactile experience.
Yeah.
And I think it has so much potential for training or remote controlling of things. Imagine, surgeons could train in VR and have that tactile experience and be presented with all sorts of different scenarios, and then at a click of a button, it resets. They got it wrong, reset, try something else. You can't necessarily replicate that. Your technical people, bomb disposal, stressful situation, combat situations. It has so many applications beyond just me sitting in my chair pretending to be Captain Kirk. That I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And quite often you find that the military applications trickle out to us. And, you know, and we have NASA to thank for a lot of cool tech, don't we? I think it's tinfoil, one of theirs, for example. So I think VR could be developed a lot further than it is. It's just whether it gets the funding and the, you know, it's got to have that application to justify the funding, and then eventually come to the masses as, you know, game product or whatever it is. Although, you know, in these crazy pandemic times, I can see it could be a really useful tool for getting together with your mates. You know, you slip on the goggles, a bit Ready Player One, slip on the goggles and you meet up in VR rather than, you know, just on FaceTime or WhatsApp or whatever. It could be a really interesting, and given that certainly in the UK, we're having to socially distance for a long time. If you've got VR and you can meet up, why not?
Yeah. I know that Facebook's trying to make a VR game like that, but I don't know how well that's going to do. So,
but they own Oculus and they've done a good job on all the games so far. So I wouldn't put it past them to nail it.
Yeah. So something I ask my guests, what is a polymath to you?
It's a word a lot of people will have to look up because it's not exactly a common language word. And, you know, I kind of had an idea. I did look it up. I kind of had an idea that it was someone who was good at a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, in terms of the dictionary definition, it's generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's generally considered to be drawing on various disciplines to solve problems. And the dictionary definition, when I looked at it, felt quite a little bit like it was from, I don't know, back in the day with Romans or whatever, where they're you know, it's basically, oh, I'm ill. Well, I need to draw on engineering and botany and all this to fix this medical problem. But whereas now we're a lot more specialized. I think these days you could say that there's quite a few people that have to be multi-skilled and draw on lots of disciplines, but maybe not in the traditional sense that the dictionary definition would define.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And this is why I like asking, because even though you had to look up the definition, the way you conveyed it just now was a unique perspective. And it's interesting how people see it like, yes, you're drawing from multiple disciplines and how it's almost like an ancient idea. But for the most part, we still have plenty of polymaths in our modern day. Elon Musk is a perfect example, mm-hmm. who is like a modern version of a polymath in a way. But it's also the fact that I think in the next coming decades, between like nanotechnology or biotechnology, these fields are coming together where in order to really even be in those fields, let alone innovate or progress, you have to have multiple specialties. You can't just be a specialist in one pillar. And I think that polymathy may not be necessary just yet, but the idea of interdisciplinary skills that polymathy employs, I think is very important, you know?
I do. And I think a perfect example of where this would be very useful and where sort of YouTubers would fall into that category is in the UK at the moment, a lot of the TV presenters are having to work from home. Mm-hmm. And it's quite clear their discipline is reading the news or whatever, and they have no idea about lighting, camera setup. Now, I appreciate if you're watching the video, the lighting here has been terrible because I've got a window shining here and now the sun's going down and all the rest of it. But when I'm filming, I'm aware of camera positioning, lighting, all the rest of it. And so I have to draw on a lot of disciplines. And as a YouTuber, you have to learn so many different techniques and it's good for you. But then when you see professionals trying to film themselves at home and they're going, oh, this is really weird, I'm filming walking around. I'm like, yeah, welcome to the world of YouTube. It's fine. And they're almost starting out on the path of being a YouTuber without realizing it because they're having to film themselves at home and learn about sound, distancing from cameras, lighting. Don't put it so it's looking up your nose. I see that quite a lot with guests on TV. So I agree. I think the more people have to do for themselves generally, whether it's at home or at work, they are going to have to draw on a lot of disciplines, especially when it comes to things like the digital world, mm-hmm. because it's, you know, I think growing up at a certain time, I'm more used to doing research in books, for example. I didn't have Google. So I worry about the generation now that can just Google everything and has never actually had to go and look for things. You know, that to me is something that I was, in a way, I'm quite pleased at university. I had to go to a library. I had to find the right books. I had to put the effort in to get that knowledge. Knowledge is valuable. Now, though, I can just say, you know, okay, Google, and ask it a question and get an answer back. Hopefully it's the right answer, but you never know. But yeah, I definitely agree with you that this is going to be something that develops more and more in time. People are going to have this multi-skilled approach.
Definitely. And just for people who are hearing on the audio there, when he said Google, it made my Google go off. Yeah. So that's
mine did as well.
So let me kind of counterpoint that a little bit, though. I do think that actually using Google is a skill that people can develop. So just like going into a library and learning into a book, there's these deep dives. Many people go into these rabbit holes just like watching random YouTube videos. But if you're actually trying to learn something, you can go into those purpose-driven rabbit holes where you're really trying to learn how to use Instagram, how to use cameras. One of the rabbit holes I went into is camera things. So one of the things I've been trying to work really hard as a host is to look at the camera.
Yeah.
And not just like stare it down like this and be creepy, which I think in one video I did by accident. But like, just also be like that presenter that we have to be as digital entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a role to play. And, it circles back to the whole YouTube, Google points we were making earlier. The amount of information that's out there now is incredible. And I think if you've got something to add to that, you can add, it's like you were saying before, you've asked the same question of many people and they give you different answers. Well, the same is true of anything you have to say on YouTube will be a different spin because you're bringing your background, your experience, your life experience to that answer that you're going to present. It may be the same information, but you might present it differently or you might explain it differently. And that's why there's still room for new creators to join these platforms and put themselves out there.
Definitely. And kind of going off your point there, I actually made my own documentation on my website so that I could make my own definition of polymath and other words like that, which is kind of funny. So like you said, to kind of put that personal point.
Yeah.
So how do you see being a tech tuber in relation to polymathy? Because like you said, you have to be kind of generalist in the skills, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think tech tuber, any YouTuber, in fact, has to develop a range of skills. You can start with a mobile phone, but to really develop, and if you really throw yourself into it, you can cover so many disciplines. It's not just about presenting, talking to camera, thinking it through, depending on the type of channel you have. Mine's obviously focusing on the product, but if yours is an entertainment channel, then you might need to learn about storyboarding and storytelling and scripting. You may be directing people if you've got a little team and you're putting on something. You may need to research, some people do really great mini documentaries on topics. And so you need to learn to research and, put together something that keeps people's attention. And that may not even involve using a camera. That might involve Adobe Animator, and you're making little animated characters, or one of those, those drawing programs where it looks like you're drawing everything out, and it's animated that way. So once you've found your thing, there's a huge range of skills you can develop into, but you don't let that be overwhelming, because I think, as with any area, you have to learn stuff, and it can seem overwhelming, but you can start with just a simple video and just learn how to, as you were saying before, cut out the ums and ahs. And that's it. You're uploaded, you're done. It's good content. But you can take that a step further by honing your skills in a variety of areas.
Like micro content, for example, chopping up this long video into smaller pieces, that kind of thing.
make it in smaller pieces, or chopping it up into a trailer that you can post on a different platform to see about, teasing people over to your main channel.
And it's interesting that you say that too, because that's something I've been trying to work on. And these skills, you have a wide range of skills that you need to learn in order to become a YouTuber or Instagram influencer, or whatever you're trying to go towards. And online education is not very developed at this particular point. A lot of universities are falling into this problem where they sent everybody home to go through Zoom. And people are paying thousands and like even $100,000 in some cases to go to these universities to get a education. When you go to the lecture hall, a lecture hall, I feel, is really interesting experience. You could be there with a person there, but watching a MOOC online dilutes it a bit, but I still think you get that value of the knowledge. And it's interesting how people are starting to figure out, like, hey, I can actually do a lot of this on my own, but how do I learn? Or how do I start a YouTube channel like your course there, where you're helping people get started?
Yeah.
That's actually that's my course, is self-education mini course.
Yeah, I think these are old institutions that are stuck in a certain way, and this has caught a lot of places by surprise. And I don't think we can return necessarily back to what was the norm. Yeah. It's one of those things that's just going to change life forever. And the world's moved online, and if you're a business that's waiting to go back to normal and you just sat around, I think you're going to be at a massive disadvantage compared to those people who have gone, right, this is going to impact us for a while. What can I do to retool my business in a way that gets me out there digitally? So, I said my friend who's a Pilates instructor had started her channel, and then she was comfortable with setting up the Zoom aspect. And that's worked really well. It's meant she's still got money coming in. She can help people do Pilates and still give them the one-to-one type experience. It's just she can't be there in person with them. But you've got to look at these ways and not just sit around waiting for it to get back to normal. You've got to take the lead on this, I think, and go, right, well, if that's not going to help, if that's not going to go back to normal, what can I do? And there's so many resources now available online. There's training guides for pretty much everything you want.
Yeah.
On Google, and training courses. Some stuff's free, some stuff's paid for. And I just think you can, if you know what you want to do, there's someone out there who can help you understand how to do it. A lot of the university stuff for me was more about me as a person. So moving away from home, balancing job, social, work, all that kind of stuff, growing as a person independently. And I think it must really suck if you're, in your first year and you're just getting a taste of freedom, and then it's pack your bags, go home, get a laptop, and then you're just stuck in your room trying to do all this stuff that, and you really want to engage in the social life and the sports activities or, whatever else goes on at these things nowadays. But yeah, I feel for them because it's not something I'd want to go through right now.
Definitely. And it's interesting that you're mentioning how businesses aren't reacting properly in some cases. I mean, it's how Toys R Us went out of business. They didn't react to the rise of e-commerce, and they made a deal with Amazon and it screwed them over in the long run. And I think it's interesting because a lot of the topics that we talk to, obviously you and I talking, presumably because we have more time due to the quarantine. I think you and I both obviously spend a lot of time at home working on creating content, but in other cases, people that we're talking to might not normally have this time because of the special situation we're occurring. Yeah. And most of the people that I've talked to have talked about how there's an accelerant or hypergrowth or these changes that are going to be happening where Zoom skyrocketed in its overall user base because people came home. And other companies had to find ways to innovate and be relevant. And so like you're saying, becoming a YouTuber if you're a personal trainer. Ironically, I am a personal trainer and fitness instructor, and yet I didn't do that. So
there you go. That's your project for the weekend.
Yeah. Well, and that's because Polymath exercise is my next phase that I was doing. So I was focusing more on these things that we're working on now. But yeah, but that's kind of the point where I have to make that decision like, hey, I'm not going to work on that. I'm going to work on something else. But at least I'm taking advantage of this time. And you spoke about how your college affected your overall experience. I think a lot of people are going to have that dichotomy of like, hey, I want that networking of a college, but I also can learn at home. You have kind of pivoted a tiny bit there. You have a degree in psychology, but it seems your work and online work are all in tech. So what caused that dissonance there?
Well, yeah, I did a degree in psychology, and I can see why you think there's not a link, but actually the job I went into after studying was a management position. And for 17 years, although I wore many hats, one of the constant hats was managing people. So I started off with a small team of 6, and then it changed around a bit. And then I was put in charge randomly of the training team who weren't doing very well and had to rejig them. And then the last position I held there, a previous manager of about 50 people had left, and they asked me to help out, getting that team back up and running. And so I've always had an interest in helping people and people in general. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I think that's why I picked psychology. It was just like, well, that sounds kind of interesting. I'd done it at, we'd call it college. I'm not quite sure what the equivalent is there. Whatever's after high school and before college.
College or university, we have both, I think.
Okay, so so I'd done the starter course, as it were, and then went on to university to do it. And so I've always had an interest in that side of things and managing people and working with people as well. And I was really touched that last year, a lady came to me and she said, in one of the one-to-ones, she said, listen, I just want to say this year is the first year I've really enjoyed working here, because she'd had a load of problems managing her team and she hadn't really had the support there to help her get over that. And we worked together a lot. And it meant so much to me, more than any sort of bonus or anything like that, to know that I had impacted that one person and made a difference and made them happier and more confident was just like, yeah, great, I've done a good job. And that, it's a bit like the 10 million subscriber views thing. It's a big number. Sometimes it's the little things that really impact you the most.
That one comment that says, "Oh, you changed my life," or "You made my day."
There's just that little bit of feedback that that validation from one person that you've had an impact on them can be really nice. It's the same with comments on YouTube. Every now and again, I'll just get a comment that just says, "Wow, this is incredible. I'm so happy I found this video." And the video bizarrely, one video that's done really well on mine is how to clean a wood burning stove. Right? It's just a really random little tip where you take the ash from the stove and use that to clean the glass. And amazingly, it comes out beautiful. And so many people on there, and they're just like, it took me maybe an hour to film it, edit it, and put it on. And so many people have just been like, this is amazing. You've made my mum's day. She asked me to come on YouTube just to thank you because it's looking good as new. And it's a nothing thing. It was nothing on my part, but it's helped so many people. That's what I really enjoy is knowing that I've helped people achieve something.
Yeah. And I think that's the coach mentality you employ as well. You have that kind of personality of a teacher, which I resonate with. And actually, I asked the question almost as if I didn't believe in it, but I do actually completely agree with your mindset. One of my key principles in life is balance. Balance between ideology and technology usually is the main kind of idea. And I think that with your psychology, the ideology of how the brain operates and how people operate, and balance of your technology life is how you're actually building that into your business now, the coaching and what your newest endeavor basically is. So yeah. I guess the next thing I would ask is, what are your principles in life?
I suppose we've covered a few of these. I think, money is great, but don't let that be your purpose. Mm-hmm. Doing something for money, you'll never be happy because money is an infinite number. Yeah. So money can be a great way of measuring success. If your business is doing well, it will earn more money. But it shouldn't be the reason to do something. So get out of that mindset and focus on what it is you're looking to achieve. And, in my case, I want to help people start YouTube channels and educate them on that kind of area, how to edit and all that kind of stuff. Other people might want to, you get people going into the medical profession or teachers, proper teachers as opposed to coaches.
I know proper teachers still too, though.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's weird to think of myself as I know I am teaching, but my parents were teachers and I've been around teachers, and I don't think of myself like that because it's not classroom based. But I know a guy who's a personal trainer, and that's his one thing. That's all he does, and he absolutely loves it. And he's the kind of guy who, if someone is in his class and struggling, they've been laid off or whatever, then he'll just say, just don't pay me. Just don't worry about it. The money isn't an issue for him. He wants people there. His mission is to help that person. So I think as long as you have that sort of mentality about you and you are happy to give yourself over to things, not always for your own gain, I think you can get that back, several folds sometimes. You never know where things go. I also try and I read a book years ago. I think it was actually turned into that Jim Carrey film, Yes Man. Now that was a comedic take on a book by Danny Wallace. And it's a real thing he did, where he said yes to everything to see where it took him. And it meant he was saying yes to things that he wouldn't necessarily have said yes to normally. So he would go to the party, or he would go on the trip, or he would go there. And it's a really interesting book. And I'm not going to say it was all good, but it did lead into interesting places. So you contacted me about this podcast. Never done a podcast before, but I thought, yeah, why not? Let's see where this goes. So I try and push myself into doing things that maybe, because I'm getting a bit older, you get set in your ways and you think, oh no, I don't want to do that. Oh, it's new. So I try and push myself to do new things as well. And yeah, that's really it. I think just try and put yourself out there, and don't do things specifically for money. But of course, I'm not saying money's a bad thing. I do like money.
I love it. And I think that your growth mindset is very young of you, and you're still pretty young from what I can tell on the camera here too. Like, you don't seem old at all. And so it's one of those things where that youthful mindset too is going to definitely keep you alive and happy for a long time. I love it.
Well, I hope so. Yes.
And if this is your first podcast, you're doing very well.
Well, I'm talking about myself. It's my favorite topic.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a human nature kind of thing right there. But it's the funniest thing is that the first podcast I was ever on, the Live Long Prosperity Show, Live Long Digital is what it was, the brand's called. And I'm sitting there on my couch with my phone in front of me, and it's like 6 a.m. because the show is in Australia. So it's like super far away. And I'm sitting here in the dark because my overhead light was crap. I had no other secondary lighting. Like, my camera actually has a light in it. One of the reasons why I bought this camera was because of that horrible experience where I'm sitting there with my phone, switching hands because my arm would get tired. I'm starting to shake because I'm getting so tired. And I'm a fitness person. I'm not weak by any means, but it's just for holding it for so long.
As a YouTuber, I know that feeling.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, oh man, the quality of this content I hope is going to be somewhat decent. I'm just not able to answer these questions right. And it's actually interesting. I want to hear your opinion on this. Is that one of the questions he asked me, because the brand that I was employing wasn't PolyInnovator at the time, it was my older one, United Leading Construct, where the main premise of both is self-education for PolyInnovator, but self-development for the other one. Really kind of the same idea. And he asked me directly, why should someone pursue self-development? And it was just one of those questions that dropped me right then and there. I didn't know how to answer it. I couldn't fathom the idea of someone not wanting to develop themselves to be better. So what is something that like you think is so important like that people need to do?
So this is interesting because for the company I worked for 17 years, they were really slow on the uptake on developing staff.
Yeah.
And they had a training team, but I never received proper formal training until I think the last year I was there, and I was there 17 years. So that's what, thankfully, my curiosity got me doing other things because I wanted to self-develop. And I think you've got to be careful not to become just stagnated in where you're at. And I think there's a lot to be said for pushing yourself into doing new things, new experiences. I didn't do regular exercise for quite a long time, and then I found this guy who's local and started going there, and I really enjoy it. And I've met some great people there. And I'm not a marathon runner, but I have taken a few of them at the odd sprint. So that was very rewarding, and not something that a few years before I ever would see myself doing. Yeah. So I think if you don't self-develop, you're going to have a pretty boring life. You're just going to be doing the same thing. It's Groundhog Day over and over again. Whereas if you put yourself out there, whether it's trying new experiences, doing online courses to learn something new, whatever that development is, you're pushing yourself, you're growing as a person. And, you've only, in theory, got one life. And so, you should make the most of it as best you can by getting out there and trying to experience as much as possible, or whether that's self-learning or volunteering at something that you wouldn't normally do, whatever it is, just get out there, try it. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, you might not like something. Well, don't do it again. Try something else.
Well, and like you're saying earlier, curiosity, be curious about the world, be curious about the people around you, and just really try to pursue better things. Be a yes man. Obviously say no to things that are going to be really hurtful to you, but if you're not sure if it's going to actually be like detrimental to your existence, if it's just something like, hey, I don't know if I want to go to that party, say yes anyways. Those
you can always leave.
Yeah, and those kind of questions, those really minor ones that really kind of, I think, there's that dichotomy of like, yes, I should say that because it's a great opportunity, or like, no, I should not say that because it's going to be terrible. But most of the time when people are asked questions, it's usually in the middle. It's a gray area where like, hey, do you want to come to this party? Or hey, do you want to come hang out with me? Hey, do you want to go on a date with me? Or hey, do you want this job? These situations where they're kind of murky, where you don't know how it's going to turn out. Most of the time, if you say yes, if you're opportunistic, you can make a big difference in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is look real. I think it's more spotting an opportunity and going for it at the right time. Okay, your numbers might come up on the lottery. That is a form of luck. But other people say to me, "Oh, you're dead lucky. You were given whatever it is, a TV or a phone or whatever gadgets." It's like, well, that's not luck. That's years of hard work to build a channel where people are happy to send me things for free. In return for my opinion of them on YouTube. So a lot of these people that you see and you think, wow, they weren't anywhere and they've just blown up overnight. They actually haven't. They've been working for years, honing their skills, trying different things. Going back to Mr. Beast earlier, you can go on his channel and he's got videos going back years. And, it's only really in the last few years that he's really exploded. And that's because he's honed his craft and he understands what's working for his audience. But he's not an overnight success. He's put the work in.
Yeah, definitely.
People on YouTube who are, there's a lot of fitness people on YouTube.
Yeah.
But again, you go back, they haven't put a video on and suddenly got 1 million subscribers. They've got years worth. And, they can go a year or two and pick up one subscriber here, one subscriber there. And then all of a sudden something starts snowballing. But you got to put the work in.
Yeah, you got to put the work in. You got to learn the skills. And like you said, like a lot of overnight successes have been doing it for 10 years prior. Like Kevin Hart, for example, was doing it all the time and he became an overnight success.
Yeah.
And it is interesting too to think about how virality works too, because I was talking about this with another guest, where in some cases there is a matter of luck. Like there's gonna be some cases where a video goes viral or you go viral purely out of luck. But most of the time, it comes down to specific strategic changes you make to your SEO, getting the tags right, getting the thumbnail right, getting your actual video optimized so that you can actually be discoverable, which you know, but I'm just saying for the guest who's listening, that the way you have your strategy set up and the way you prepare yourself, or you hone your skills, like you're saying, that will give you a greater chance at that virality.
Absolutely. And this is, you know, it goes back to having that almost business mentality of approaching it. So, you know, have your checklist, have you done all these things? Have you structured it correctly? Is it a video that when you watch back, you kind of lose interest in halfway through? Because if you've lost interest, why is anyone else going to keep watching? Mm-hmm. You know, you got to be self-critical. You've got to look at the audience retention graph, which is a horrendously horrible graph to look at. You've put all this work into a video and you can literally see minute by second even when viewers exit your video. And so it starts at 100 and then it very quickly drops and drops and drops. And if you can keep it at, you know, 30–40%, you've made a really good video, but it's horrible to see. But you've got to kind of grow a thick skin around that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, as long as you're willing to be open-minded. And I think there's a lot of people who just kind of think, oh, I'll put up a few videos, it'll go viral, and that'll be it, I'll be famous. And they're doing it for the wrong, again, fame, like money, it's a result of, not the end goal.
Yeah. What is a secret software tool or even just a tech tool that you really love that no one knows about?
So I'm going to be a bit cheeky here, and I'm going to plug my brother's brand new website. Okay. So he's built this with his partner, and it's incredible. It's called Cadasio. Sorry. It's a bit of an odd spelling, and it's one for those of you who are CAD users, computer aided design users. So it's CADASIO.com, and it's a brilliant website because in the CAD world, software is so expensive. And what this does, it allows you to load in your CAD files.
This is
it. Yeah, this is it. So you can load in your CAD files and create these beautiful animated instructions, and they're slightly interactive as well. So if you go, oh, there you are. So you're using that one there. So that's a little car one. If you go down, I think, it goes to Showcase, is it? Or Gallery? I can never remember where it is.
Oh.
Right. If you click on that DIY portable wardrobe closet. So imagine if you go to IKEA or the equivalent of, and you normally get these flat pack furniture with instructions.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
if you hit play on that, so imagine you've bought this flat pack bit of furniture and you scan a code and it loads this up. Now, all of a sudden, instead of having to try and figure out is part B going into item C or C1, you now have animated instructions. And every time you press play, it's showing you a little bit more, and then you can scroll around. I'm not quite sure of the visual there. Let's have a look at it from the other side. It's a really incredible tool, which is currently free to use. And it's open now for use, and then you can embed these on your website. You can generate a QR code. So it's genuinely a tool not many people know about, because it's literally launched in the last month or so.
That's fantastic.
So there you go. There's an exclusive for all your listeners.
Yeah.
Get on it quick before he starts charging for it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, is that this is one reason I like doing video podcasts, is that first off, I get to see your face, people get to see your face, and when people get to hear your voice and your inflections, they get to see you smile about this cool tool that you're talking about. But on top of that, we get that whole, if you're listening on the Polycast, you should jump over to PolyInnovator and watch me go through the website real quick, because it's very interesting. I love how I actually wanted to go into CAD and try to do some smart city designs through it. It's an expensive program, but I think that, like, if you have access to it, it's very worthwhile.
Well, that's it. He worked in the industry for a long time with his program was SolidWorks, and he was a trainer around SolidWorks, and he spotted that when people were looking to publish these things, it wasn't easy. The tools there were outdated, and again, it's an industry that has taken its time to really drag itself into the future. And if you want to publish these things, I don't know if you need a degree or something, but it's incredibly complicated. And he tried to show me, I think it's called SolidWorks Composer once. And I've used a lot of software, but I was just like, I'm giving up. I don't understand any of this. Yeah. And I got onto his website, and I'm not a CAD user at all. And it's a tool that's designed, again, it's not a magic bullet, but it helps you work smarter, not harder, because you can get to your, the person who's on CAD, let them work the complicated software, get the new Office Junior in to then turn it into a nice animated set of instructions for your website.
Yeah.
And so it can save you a fortune. So he's starting to ramp that up now, and he's keeping it free for the time being because they're still bug testing. but he's got, I think there's a local university have started to use it, and he's got a lot of positive feedback. So if you're into CAD, check it out. It's there. They're being very responsive with feedback and feature requests, and you can get in on the ground floor.
Talking about your overall development, do you see anything that you're working on? We talked about your phases earlier. Is there some kind of project like this that you're working on, that you're trying to work at, maybe in secret or just in this?
No, the YouTube coaching side is the current thing. I was made redundant from my role last year in October, so 17 years, and the only way I can describe it is if you've ever been in what you thought of as a nice happy relationship, and then it's we need to talk, and then all of a sudden there's your bag, off you go. Oh. It's kind of that kind of feeling. So I was left with a bit of a, oh, what do I do next? Having become quite adept at a number of areas. And so I set up, as you've seen, I've got another website, which is Indigo with 2 I's, indigo.co.uk. Yeah. And that was really to experiment with a new platform that I'd been working with to build websites, and also to kind of put down a few of the skills that I can offer people, because, you know, as well as coaching, I can obviously edit videos, I can create ebooks, you know, I have access to, as I said earlier, a massive toolkit, so I can help others by giving them access to me. Combine that with my business background has meant I've been able to help people launch little side businesses as well. So I worked last year with someone who wanted to become a nutritional therapist, and she got all the qualification, but she was a bit like, well, what's next? And so we sorted her out a website and talked through her, you know, what's she going to do, who's she targeting, and then, you know, we touched base again. And last year she was paying someone £200 a month to do marketing, and I said, well, how many customers you got from that? She went, well, none. Why are you paying her then? What are you paying her for? Well, I just thought I needed a presence online. I'm like, well, you only need presence online if it's getting something back. So stop. The money's better in your pocket. Said, oh yeah. So it's opened my eyes that there's you know, people who don't have the same rounded experience I have in business and technology, who can really benefit from just tapping in and even just talking through ideas with me. You know, just sometimes well, before the lockdown, she popped round and she had a little list of things. And she said, right, what do you think about this? What about this? How do I do this? How do I do that? And she was like, right, that's the best hour I've spent all week on this. And then she'd go off and she'd be full of ideas and go get them done. So I was planning on really sitting out of you know, just doing some little projects for a few months and then maybe searching for a job this year. But then COVID happened. So I'm now pushing myself more out there online to help people, you know, anywhere really that want to start something. And the YouTube course is one piece. You can do that. I'm almost finished with that, and you can just DIY that, or you can pay for additional coaching. And that doesn't just cover YouTube, that can cover anything that you're trying to do, because I've got that knowledge and experience that I can help with a range of issues.
Yeah, you have that generalist or polymathic approach. And
yeah, I suppose I do, yeah.
So one of my favorite quotes that I think resonates in this kind of mindset is that when you hit your lowest point, you're open to the greatest change. And so when you got knocked out of the business, the company there, just kind of almost out of the blue in a way, it really kind of hurt you in an emotional probably way as well. You're like, this really sucks. I've been 17 years here. Or when COVID happened, a lot of people lost their jobs, or the very temporarily, and they got stuck into this like low point. But that, like I said, that makes you more open to doing new things. Yeah. And a lot of people are becoming digital entrepreneurs. Your coaching system really kind of builds digital entrepreneurs, not even just like content creators, but digital people who are building businesses online. So I think perhaps that's be a good way to go about it.
Well, that's it. If you've never thought about in a business manner, if you've been doing something for a while. So again, going back to the Pilates instructor, you know, I said, have you thought about advertising on Facebook? And she's like, well, you know, I work with other Pilates people in the local area, so I don't want to take business away from them. I was like, well, you're online. You don't have to advertise in the local area. You can advertise to the world. Oh, I hadn't really thought about that. So even just those little conversations, you know, it can help trigger people's thoughts on where to go next if they're stuck with something. And sometimes just having that sounding board can really help move you along much faster than if you're just trying to go it alone. Sometimes it's not so much paying for a shortcut, it's just paying for that reflection of a different perspective. You put your ideas out there and you get asked questions, and it just makes you think, oh, yeah, I haven't thought about doing that.
Well, and the one thing is you're ahead of people, so that reflection is actually very valuable. So a lot of times people try to ask their friends and family, and a lot of times that might be good because like they'll give you kind of an unbiased approach in a way, because they're, or sometimes opposite, they give you a biased approach because you're family. But when you have someone like you who's a professional at it, it really helps get you moved along, because you're going to see the broken problems and the trials and execution that people are trying to do. As a swim coach, when I see someone swimming, I can immediately identify areas that they can improve on, just like how you are in this case.
Yeah, and they could get better at swimming on their own over a long period, but they'll get better faster with that feedback. And that's where you're adding the value. It's your knowledge and experience of what they can do to improve the thing that they're trying to improve at.
So tell me a little bit more about Indigo.
So it's basically just a bit of a showcase for things I can do. It's something I'm still developing. I'm still messing around with the website, and it's really, if you go on there, you're able to book a consultation with me, see some of the stuff I've done, see some of the people I've worked with, and that's there, that's working. And then I have Reviewify, which is the review website, but that's really designed for people who are either looking for reviews or want to get a review. And then I've got my actual personal website, which is markjdraper.co.uk, and that's where you can go and register your interest if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel and you're interested in what I've talked about and the support that I can offer. You can go on there, there's a little video from me, and then you scroll down, register interest, just put your details in, and I can get in touch, and we can see if the course is the right fit or coaching's the right fit, and I'm just going to see where I go from there. Really, it's I've got to be careful of putting too many plates in the air to spin. I want to make sure that when I work with people, I want to make sure that they get the right attention, and they're not just I've got to rush off because I've got to do something else. I want to make sure I make that difference in whatever it is they're trying to achieve. But yeah, so there's plenty of ways to contact me, and I'm open to any and all projects at the moment. But as I say, right now I'm focusing on this YouTube thing, because having worked with a number of people recently, I've spotted so many people that just don't know they don't even know how to set up an account. And it's super easy to create an account, but taking them from that, right, what's your channel about? Who's your one viewer? That kind of target audience profiling, taking them from that to the physical, press these buttons to set up the account, to here's how you upload, this is what you need to do. Just getting that framework, that blueprint in place, I think will help people start their YouTube channel a lot better than swimming without a coach.
There you go. It's a very nice way of saying it. And it makes you kind of think, you have Mark J. Draper and Indigo, but it almost seems like both of them are your personal brand in a way.
Yeah, I suppose they are in a way, yeah. I just happen to have, I was trying different things. I always try different things. And one of the reasons is one of them's built on a platform called Brizzy, and one of them's built on a platform called AppDrag. And so I've been experimenting with both, and I happen to have both domains. But the markjdraper.co.uk is purely the landing page about YouTube, whereas indigo.co.uk is a bit more generalist in terms of, I can help with video editing, I can help with ebook design, lead magnets, that kind of stuff. It's something that I'm refining and developing, because I think one-off jobs take a lot of time to chase down and all the rest of it. And really what I should be doing is more some sort of retainer, ongoing support where you can gain access to all these things, and I can help you build these things for a certain amount a month or something like that. So it's still in development, as I say, but I want to try and make it accessible to people who just don't know how to do these things. And it's not just a case of me doing it and handing it over. If required, I can say, well, this is how I've done it, if that's what you want to learn to stand on your own 2 feet.
Out of all of our topics today, I think one of the big things to go over is your success with YouTube. What do you think people can do to emulate that growth that you've acquired?
Okay, so we've talked a lot about this. It's know who you're making a video for, know what your videos are going to be about. Don't jump around. Don't pay for subscribers. Don't pay anything. Basically, if you're paying for something, you're always going to have to pay. You're going to have to replicate that over and over again. If you can gain them naturally, then you'll gain them naturally, and that's what you really want. So I think you just need to have a think about it. You can approach this in so many ways. You can approach it as a business, as I keep saying. You can just have a bit of fun and learn some skills. That's how I started out. It can take a bit longer, but you never know where you might go with it. I think you've got to do a bit of research into the area that you want to make videos on. What can you add that's different? How can you stand out a little bit? Mm-hmm. You mentioned this before, thumbnails in particular, a lot of people get wrong. They're still just using a clip from the video, or they've put a load of text on and it looks great on their monitor, but they don't think to look at it on a mobile where it's completely unreadable. They just can't, viewers can't see what it's about. Think about your titles, make them intriguing. You can learn a lot from clickbait, as it's called, but clickbait's in itself only a bad thing when you click through and don't get what was promised.
Yeah.
If you make a compelling title and someone clicks through and they go, well, that's a good deal. That's what I want. That's what the title said, and that's what I've got. Great. So, but you can learn a lot from, if you Google, how to write clickbaity titles. There's so many articles out there that can help you figure out how to write something that helps make that intrigue trigger in a viewer's mind. And you just got to be up for a bit of a slog. It's a marathon rather than a sprint on YouTube. And as long as you're, as I said before, as long as you're not doing it for fame and money, and you're just doing it because you want to learn some new skills, you want to establish yourself, you just want to get out there and start off. Every single person on YouTube started with exactly 0 subscribers. Okay. And you can either do really well and build it up, or you give up, or you just do it on the side. I've looked at channels where they've got a few thousand subscribers and they only post once a month or once every 6 months. You don't have to post every week. You can, do as much or as little as you want. You should really only post when you've got something valuable to say or talk about or show. But it's got such flexibility that that's why I encourage everyone to at least give it a go, because you just don't know what doors it's going to open. You just never know. You may end up. There's so many YouTubers in the UK now that have become popular. They're the most famous people I've never heard of, and yet they end up on Celebrity Bake Off or all these celebrity shows. I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. And so is a YouTuber, and I've never heard of him, has 13 million followers. I'm like, wow. Yeah. So it's incredible where these things can take you.
Who knows? You'll be one of those celebrities down the line too.
I think some of those programs I definitely would say no to.
Yes. So let's make this interesting. In one sentence, what could be our call to action for the audience today?
One sentence, obviously, go subscribe to my channel and maybe sign up to my course. But I would say more broadly, do something you wouldn't normally do. Give something new a go. I think, doing a YouTube channel is one of those things. But if someone's asked you to go somewhere then you wouldn't normally go do it. Go do something different for once, but definitely subscribe to my channel. That's the main call to action. Subscribe to my channel and sign up to my course.
Well, and just to plug myself in there, subscribe to the Polycast.
Yeah, get clicking those subscribe buttons.
Here's the call to action there. We talked about your websites earlier, but where can people find you online?
So if you just search Mark J. Draper, hopefully I will turn up. So I'm mainly on YouTube. I've got the website. I am on Twitter and Instagram. The Instagram one is generally behind the scenes videos of me filming and showing me doing various bits and pieces. Twitter I'm on every now and again, but a lot of people use Instagram and Twitter just to contact me and ask questions, and that's fine, that's no problem. I'm not very quick necessarily getting back, but YouTube is the main platform that I'm active on, and as I say, you can reach me via any of my websites as well.
Awesome. I'll have those links down below, and thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time.
That's okay. It's been really, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much for having me.
Great to talk to you too. In fact, we even had quite a long conversation too, and I really like that. Be able to chop that up to different pieces later on.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, cheers.